We're live. We're on. We're going. This is it. This is the start. This is the start of the live podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Have we started?
You started. This is it.
Oh my gosh. This is a live podcast.
Insert theme music here.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Whether it's on live or... We're talking today... Films, 2017 films.
Great energy, Richard.
Yeah, what is this, man?
Great energy to this beginning.
This is Cult Popture. This is the premier.
Hey guys,
New Zealand, Hollywood melting pot. That's our new slogan. That's going on the website.
With all the states stammers. This is a sequel to our most anticipated films of 2017 podcast, and now that we've seen every film,
all of them, every film that's possible,
we're going to chat about them.
And if you're watching this or listening to it, well, actually, you'll be able to
look at its crotch.
You'll be able to watch it. You'll be able to watch this on YouTube or listen to it on our regular podcast platforms. But there will be spoilers for most of the movies we're going to be talking about. But luckily, what I've got here for those watching our live stream is a little spoilers for. It's right there. Do you see it? Spoilers for thing, so you'll know if you're watching this without the sound on, you know what we're talking about.
So just after we've spoiled it for you, AJ will type in spoilers
oh no,
for, and you'll know what's just been spoiled.
Yeah, I can't wait till we talk about Pirates of the Caribbean, and I have to quickly type in Pirates of the Caribbean : Dead Men Tell No Tales, then shrink the text to the size that it's supposed to fit on the screen.
And then also say AKA Salazar's Revenge.
Yeah, true.
And we'll be like, oh crap, is it a double R,
yeah,
double B?
Yeah. It's two B's. It's two B's. It's Carib Bean. I remember that.
And so because in case we have any people in the UK watching, they'll be like, Dead Men Tell No Tales, I don't know what that movie is, but I haven't seen Salazar's Revenge yet.
I've never heard of Pirates of the Caribbean.
But I cannot wait for Salazar's Revenge.
I can't believe they released 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies this year.
Alright, so this time last year, roughly, we, actually it was early this year.
Oh, so
we went over our most anticipated films of the year. Can you guys remember yours? I remember you only had Beauty and the Beast pretty much, didn't you?
I had
the only film
Beauty
you
and
can
the Beast
think
on
of.
my mind, yeah. But then over the course of the podcast, I of course got very excited about a number of films. Some of which were good, some of which were not so good.
I remember I said I really wanted to see Trainspotting 2, and then I haven't seen it yet.
You also really were looking forward to the Emoji Movie,
I
which
was
I will
not.
remind everyone.
I'm going to have to listen back.
You thought it was going to be good, and you were like, oh, no, I'm a believer. I think that it could be really great.
I feel like that might have been something I said.
Yeah, I think that's something Richard said.
Both of you actually were open to it.
Because there was nothing really known about it at that point. And so I was like, it could be good. It could be like a Wreck-It Ralph. But of
Could
course,
be a Lego movie.
And it was not.
Yeah, well, anyway, I had on my list, because I've got the original handwritten notes here.
Ooh.
Star Wars Episode 8, Thor Ragnarok, God Particle / Cloverfield 3. Didn't end up coming out this year.
Oh.
Blade Runner 2049, Logan, Kingsman 2, and Baby Driver. Mm-hmm. I remember you had Dunkirk and Coco.
Yeah.
And I think you had Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes, you did.
And Trainspotting 2, and Star Wars 8.
There you go. Where would I be without you guys? Tell me what I think.
You'd probably be homeless, actually.
Yeah.
Probably.
Alright, so the way this is going to work is I've got the same films we talked about and anticipated, so maybe you could have 2 podcasting devices, one ear in each, and listen to what we thought then and what we think now. Yeah. Alright, and okay, so first film we talked about last time was Moonlight, because that hadn't come out here, but you'd already seen it.
Yeah,
and AJ, we haven't seen it.
No.
So I feel like there's nothing new to say.
I've just written spoilers for Moonlight, but you know what? Probably not going to be any.
Yeah, because you gave your opinion on it last time.
Yeah, and I've thought about it a lot since then, and I still think the same. I would be interested to watch it again, see if I still think the same, because it's always interesting if you have a reaction to a movie and then you come back and then it wins the Oscar for Best Picture and you're like, oh gosh, was I right? Or right for yourself. But yeah,
when La La Land got it in first, were you like, oh?
No, I was so angry. I was actually really stoked that Moonlight won over La La Land, because I was so pissed off at La La Land for not being a real musical. But we don't need to do that, because
we've done that already.
Yeah.
Stop watching this live stream. Go listen to this year's most anticipated.
for my valuable thoughts on
And
Lana.
then,
Definitely.
of course, next, what was also out by the time we recorded last time, Triple X3 with the Return of Xander Cage.
I ran quickly after doing the podcast to go watch. I did not. No.
AJ,
I'm
that
not
was
going
on-
to type that in. I'm going to use my discretion and not type in Triple X3, The Return of Xander Cage for the 6 seconds it'll
Well,
be
we
on screen
gave
for.
spoilers for it last time, didn't we?
Yeah, I think
that
so.
Ice Cube was back.
Oh, well, now sorry, all those Triple X fans.
Yeah, it should be ruined for you though if you haven't watched it yet.
And then the film came out on the 20th of January, which I only just found out about its existence today. Not from you, Jeremy, but it's like one of that weird sort of thing where I found out about it.
And you hear it
And
everywhere.
then they heard about it. But the film called The Red Turtle.
Oh, yeah. It was really good. I only watched it because another podcast I listened to.
At least you're not on it.
Yeah, it was a movie that he really loved. The reviewer on that podcast, and I watched it, and it's beautiful. It's
What's it about?
completely silent. It's an animated film, and it's
Called Red Turtle?
yeah, the Red Turtle. Yeah, and it's an animated film that has no words. It's just about a guy who washes up on an island, and it's just one of those movies that you can't really describe. If you're in a reflective mood, and in a mood to kind of contemplate, life, and it's just a really peaceful, beautiful movie that kind of has a bit of drama in it and all this sort of stuff. And I just watch it. Like it's you're not going to have a huge high of emotion from watching it, but it is a really worthwhile watch. It's just got a lot of very peaceful beauty to it. So
right.
yeah, good.
Everybody check out The Red Turtle.
And that's the podcast for this week. Thank you very much.
We only have room for one recommendation, and
And
that's it.
next on the 26th of Jan, a film I don't know if any of us saw, but by all accounts was pretty disappointing. Live by Night, Ben Affleck's
No, I never
monster
saw
movie.
it.
Yeah, so again, no spoilers here probably, but I did hear that was incredibly disappointing.
Well, I mean,
Like
that's,
everything
that's-
from Ben Affleck
yeah.
this year.
Ben Affleck as a person, like maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we
'cause
found all that out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very, like, on the whole, would you guys say it's been a disappointing year?
Not for films, but for the people in them, yes.
And the people who made them.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
very probably the most disappointing ever.
Well, I think what's actually disappointing though is that it's kind of like none of it really surprised me.
Yeah,
And
I remember
think
when I first saw the Harvey Weinstein accused of sexual assault, I was like, yeah,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Harvey
yeah.
Weinstein.
Yeah, but then...
I've only heard his name in relation to like,
Yeah.
getting in
But
good with
Then
Harvey.
you see, like, all the extent of it and, like, how that was actually just the tip of the iceberg. You're like, oh, shit. Like,
And
but
also-
the fact that I kind of did was just like, why is this news? Because, of course, like, yeah, I thought everyone knew that. Like, I thought it was like, just someone being like, oh, by the way, I think Harvey might be a bit shady. And it's like, because it's like the open secret thing. Everyone knew it. But it is, on the whole, a good thing that it's coming out.
Well, I think that's the disappointing thing though, is that like for so many years people knew and like
Weren't able to
knew
do
about
anything
these
about it.
horrendous things, and only now, quite rightly, is it all coming to a head, and people are actually losing their careers and jobs over abusing their positions for so long. And it's like, how were so many people, and then also like for us as movie watchers and stuff like that we had sort of felt that stuff like that was going on for so long, but it never really concerned us. It's just like, ugh, that makes me feel a little bit gross. But yeah, I think specifically hearing Peter Jackson saying that basically he confirmed that Ashley Judd and Mira Sorvino's career was ruined
Yeah.
by Harvey Weinstein because they refused his advances. That was just really gross.
that's
And that's
nuts.
like beyond just the initial kind of like effect on a woman's life of being abused in the moment, that actually the abuse then continued professionally, and it's just like, man, yeah, it's just pretty. Yeah, anyway, that's probably the most disappointing thing in film this year.
I actually watched the mockumentary Forgotten Silver the other day. Have you guys
yeah.
seen that?
Yep.
So Peter Jackson made it in 1997,
Oh, yeah.
and it's basically a mockumentary about a guy who, a New Zealand guy named Colin McKenzie, who supposedly pioneered all these film things that we attribute to other pioneers, but he's saying like a Kiwi did it all first.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. It's really fun. But Harvey Weinstein is one of the interviewees in it. And it'll cut to him being like, without Colin McKenzie, we wouldn't have any of these things. We wouldn't have feature films. We wouldn't. And I was like,
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to look back on.
Well, I think it's interesting because totally outside of the purview of this podcast, Project Runway All Stars is about to start, and Georgina Chapman, who's Harvey Weinstein's now ex-wife or separated wife, is one of the judges on Project Runway All Stars, and like it's like this is really awkward because also Alyssa Milano is another one of the judges. She's the host of the show, and Alyssa Milano's been one of the
She
actresses.
started the Me Too movement.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, how are you two on the same show? Like, this is very
Yeah, I wonder if
odd.
there's bad blood between them. Or
I mean, Georgina Chapman obviously has left him, so. But yeah, anyway.
Spoilers for Harvey Weinstein has been on the screen for a few minutes.
But yeah, it's interesting that like you say about like the watching the Forgotten Silver and you see Harvey Weinstein, you're like, ugh. But like I feel like Harvey Weinstein's the one who like because I guess he's not as like talented.
Well, you
Like-
never,
like, 'cause
you
you
never
see-
expected him to be anything different than that.
Yeah, well, like someone like
he's a
Kevin,
producer.
someone like Kevin Spacey, you're like, oh, I can still appreciate. Well, American Beauty is a bad example. I can still appreciate
A Bug's Life.
House
A
of
Bug's
Cards.
Life, or what's it called?
K-Pax.
No, the Usual Suspects. But like removed from
Because
that
he's disappeared into a role there.
whereas like Harvey Weinstein, you're like, oh, all of his movies, you're like, shit, like who had to like to get to this?
Well, it's the same with like Roman Polanski, how a lot of like celebrities that you all like, all stand up for Roman Polanski, despite the fact that he, statutory
confirmed.
raped a 13-year-old and fled the country. And the reason that people stand up for him is because he created something that people really liked. Whereas Harvey Weinstein, we know, like the general public's understanding of what a producer does is secure finances, do all the boring side of filmmaking. No one sees Harvey Weinstein's scandal as like a lost artist, one we lost this year because no one thought of him as an artist. They thought of him as the Darth Vader of Hollywood.
But funnily enough,
Yeah.
he's the one who got a whole bunch of stuff made.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge number of
Yeah,
movies in the
Tarantino
90s.
wouldn't have as much of a career.
No,
So thank you, Harvey.
no, AJ, no.
All right.
Move on.
All right. Another film.
It's just like, you're like, how can I segue from this?
Another film that is has abuse allegations with it. Manchester by the Sea. Casey Affleck, of course, accused of assaulting a woman.
This is one of those, and he won Best Actor.
Yeah, he won Best Actor, and if you watch because Brie Larson had to present it to him, and she's obviously, not into guys who beat.
She's not
girls.
into abusers.
Yeah, and she didn't clap, and she said, and someone asked her about it afterwards, and she said, yeah, that was a conscious thing, because
There you go.
yeah.
you saw it. Did you see it, Jeremy?
I did not see it. It was one of those movies that the whole year I was trying to find someone to watch it with me because I was very
I would have
interested.
watched it with you.
Oh, Richard, I should have asked. Oh, well. Anyway,
You
as the
were
person
trying
who watched
very hard.
Always
to
on,
find-
different wavelengths. No, I saw it. I went to the movies to see it because it was the Oscar runner that I thought I'd be the most interested in. I quite like small town stories, returning home, that kind of thing. And it was all right. I think it's one of those movies where it could end at any point and you'd be like, oh, okay. Like,
You're like, ooh, meaningful. Yeah.
yeah. Like it ends at a point where nothing really feels quite resolved. But it's like, yeah, okay, it ends there.
Yeah. Do you think Casey Affleck deserved Best Actor?
I actually do. Like, if we're just looking at acting ability, if should
Not-
he
not- not
should
beating
he have
what
gotten
he
it? Probably not. Like as
Who
a
was he up
statement.
against?
I don't know.
With Ryan Gosling for La La Land. What else is nominated? Time to pull out the old.
Anyway,
Mahershala Ali was nominated for
he
Best
won.
Supporting.
He won supporting.
Yeah, so
No, he was really good in it. I mean, the character was really good, really interesting. He's probably the acting, and it's probably the best thing about the film. But yeah,
no, I mean that's the interesting thing about the stuff like the Oscars and just general awards that are given out. It's like if it was a gold medal for how fast did you run, and the performance aspect, it's not like. It's a terrible metaphor to use, but like objectively, if someone wasn't having their performance enhanced by something, then they win the gold medal because they ran the fastest. But it's just like when someone's choosing which person do we give this award to, it's like you're awarding the person.
I think because it was before the Weinstein effect. How did the cat get in here?
Well, you don't have a door.
Yeah, we don't have a door to the lounge. Because it came out before the big dropout,
Yeah.
right? I think people were more forgiving of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think if he was nominated this year,
Oh, there'd be no way.
It was all allegations as well.
he wouldn't have got it. People
Yeah, because
would have
like
vetoed it.
another thing that's happened this year is that like allegations are now kind of gospel.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
they're not like It's taken the New York Times writing an article for Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, and Louis C.K. to have like they're the big three that have been ruined. It's a bit like Danny Masterton took quite a while, and
Jeremy Piven. He came out really strong against the allegations against him.
What's the latest with him?
I don't know. All I heard was that basically he had some allegations against him, and he released a statement that basically said, like, look, I believe that in almost every situation, women should be believed when they... However, this is one of those situations where women should not be believed, and you're like, oh gosh, this is really awkward.
It was like that, like, yeah, it's good that they're being believed, but like, I didn't do this. I don't know what's possessing these people to do it, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, I think you can kind of tell. You can tell. You can kind of tell when it's probably true and when it could not be.
Yeah,
I think like depending on how far it gets is how willing I'm to believe it, because I'm subscribed to the Weinstein Effect subreddit, and on there it's everything that comes out, whether it's true or not. So you got to wait for it to reach further before. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not the gatekeeper on this.
That's Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
So
we have a comment.
Other podcasts have probably done this much better.
just following up. So Casey Affleck beat Andrew Garfield from Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling from La La Land, Viggo Mortensen from Captain Fantastic, and Denzel Washington.
I thought the allegations were all against women, but was he beating men too?
Josh Thompson says tearjerker for sure, but I'm not sure when he wrote that, so he could either be talking about Manchester by the Sea or Harvey Weinstein. I'm not sure. So there you go. Thanks, Josh.
No, or the Red Turtle.
Or the Red Turtle.
I think the Red Turtle, because the Red Turtle was a tearjerker. Yeah.
Josh, if you're still watching, what were you talking about? What the cat is walking through. Right, you guys move on to the next film. I'm going to throw the cat out.
All right.
The
next film.
This is dynamic content.
Is
with
a
live
film
animals.
called.
Don't run! Oh my gosh. Go. Just keep going.
The next film is one called. Oh my god. All right, what do we really think of AJ?
Let's review AJ.
Let's
What's the most
review AJ.
disappointing AJ of the year? I think this one, but
Yeah.
I think
the backwards cap and the suspenders is my most disappointing AJ of the year. Yeah. All right, next film. I don't
Anderson
think any of us.
I'm bringing it back.
I don't think any of us saw the Wes Anderson wannabe. I don't think any of us saw it, but Resident Evil 3D, the final chapter. Is it the final chapter?
I've heard they're rebooting it, was the last I heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
the final chapter before the reboot. Andrew Garfield will become the new character.
And then a film I didn't see. I don't know if you saw Pork Pie.
I saw it. Yep.
Disappointing?
No.
No.
Okay. I said this in
My
our
second Coke already. Jesus.
in our most anticipated
Coke no
episode.
sugar, for the record.
Yeah, it's no sugar. Don't judge us.
Mum.
The Pork Pie, Goodbye Pork Pie, of which Pork Pie is a remake, is a
lost me.
is a seminal New Zealand film. One of our first big films, basically. It came out in like
Late
the
80s,
70s,
right?
I think it was the 70s. I think it was
right,
real
okay.
early. However, if you go and watch that with the same lens that you should watch movies with, it's not a good movie. The story structure's all over the place. The characters like switch in their importance to the plot. Like it starts on one character and then ends on another character, and you're like, but I was following.
Right. Yeah,
Goodbye Pork Pie refers to the secondary character.
Oh, okay.
Not, so
Yeah.
so it's not a good movie. I thought Pork Pie objectively improved on Goodbye Pork Pie in every way it could. However, Goodbye Pork Pie will always be remembered more because it did more for New Zealand.
And just
cinema.
because it improved on the original doesn't actually make it a really, really good movie now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Hunt for the Wilder People is New Zealand's Goodbye Pork Pie of now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Half of the Way People is probably my favourite New Zealand film.
It's just so good. My parents hadn't watched it until like 2 nights ago, and I just basically it's really funny because we all watched
It played on Christmas Day.
We watched the Queen's Message, and then afterwards, like Mum and Dad were sitting there, and it was kind of this like, what are we gonna do now? And I was going out to somewhere, but I just sort of said, "Oh, Hunt for the Wilder's on. Have you seen it?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Good. Sit down, watch," and just put it on, and they loved it.
What do you guys think of the Queen's Message? Disappointing or?
What was the
I
question?
thought it was fantastic. No, actually,
Do you not know about the Queen's Message?
No, what are you talking about?
Every
my
year, oh my god, AJ. This is my most disappointing AJ. Every year on Christmas Day, the Queen has a message.
Like a
that she
10-minute.
Like a 10-minute.
Why are we at Christmas already? I'm still back in February.
No. We're talking real life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
I can't
what I
believe you
thought was
it like baffles me that you could not know about the
I
Queen's
know.
Message.
What I thought was interesting about the Queen's message this year, though, was
Sorry,
that
I don't buy into the monarchy.
she
so.
tacitly acknowledged the Crown in it, because The Crown season 2 has a whole episode that centers around her beginning to televise her speech, and it recreates the speech with the same dress and everything like that. And then at the beginning of her speech, she says, "It's been 60 years since I started televising these," and literally played the same section of her speech as played on The Crown season 2. And I was like, that's really clever, because the Queen is never going to acknowledge or say anything about what she thinks about The Crown, because she just won't. It's right that she doesn't. But I love that she sort of went like, "You've all just watched Claire Foy play me, but here's me playing me." Yeah,
So it wasn't a disappointment then, is what you said.
no, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, she said, and on laptops and streaming devices.
And some of you even on your mobile phones.
Nice.
It was cute. She's great.
Dan Moira, I think that's how you say his name, says Resident Evils after number 3 were terrible. Thank you, Dan.
How many are there? There's 6?
7, I think.
Thank you for doing what none of us could do, and thank you for bringing.
I've
yourself
actually
to
seen
watch
the
it.
first 2, I think.
Well, that's apparently the right
Apparently
number.
they go
to say.
downhill
yeah.
after the third
Yeah,
one.
I've heard after the third one.
From a reliable internet source.
All right, first film I can talk about.
Woo!
Split.
Big spoilers for Split coming up. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
You
Did
had
you see
spoilers for Split before the
Yeah,
movie had even
I
come
did.
out.
All right.
Okay, this is like a point of contention between me and AJ.
What is?
That he thinks that I like spoil films for myself. That I'm like, we haven't spoken about it.
I'm
ages.
glad we're talking. This is so funny. Okay, go. You,
Well,
you
so
tell
he's
it.
talked about
I'll
like,
judge with it. It's funny.
like that he's like, why do you always do that? And I was like, what? And he's like, spoil films, because there's quite a few films that I've had spoiled for me.
Yeah.
So Split was one that was spoiled for me, but it's an interesting one because I wouldn't have seen it if I didn't know the spoiler. So
Because the only thing you were fascinated about by the film was
the
the
spoiler,
spoiler.
and I didn't reveal it last year, did I?
No, because because we were only friends on Snapchat after
Yeah.
that for a while. So I actually messaged you on Snapchat and said what is the spoiler?
Oh yeah. So
I just want to say that I
I
understand.
want to go through the rest of them,
Okay.
how it works. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
About you spoiling things for yourself all the time.
Yeah.
I understand that you're not doing it on purpose, but I don't know anyone else who falls into as many
No, well,
spoilers as
it's
you.
the thing of like, I mean, how many people do you know that care about film as much as I do? That actively research it on their own time.
Yeah.
And then films just Split. It was it was because I saw an article that was like, spoilers, Split is actually a sequel to ... and then it had a Unbreakable thumbnail.
Oh my gosh!
And
Isn't
so I
that
was like-
arrogant? That's as bad
and
as
so I was like-
Variety doing.
And so yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't like. So that's the spoiler for Split, is that it's actually a sequel to Unbreakable, and they're making a crossover called Glass, which comes out early 2019. And
Unbreakable Split
finished
Glass.
filming.
yeah, Unbreakable Glass, Split Glass. Yeah. So it's finished filming. It's got a year in post production, but there's that Rowan Strang spoiled Star Wars Episode 7 for me.
Calling him out.
What else
what
is
was
there?
there to
Friend
spoil
of-
about The Force Awakens?
Tell
um,
the story.
So
I was hold
like,
up.
Oh no! Oh,
Like, no,
sorry.
people you've seen The Force Awakens.
If you haven't
okay?
seen it by now, you're not enough of
so-
a fan to deserve.
okay,
This is
so
2017 spoilers.
I was in Thailand.
2016,
2015.
No, this video
Oh,
is
yeah.
20,
So I
this
was
podcast.
I was in Thailand when The Force Awakens came out, and I went to
Taiwan?
the earliest screen I could see. And this is the earliest showing I could see. But by the time that had been, a lot of my friends had been to the midnight premiere, so I stayed off all social media, except I was like, oh, I want to get just a 1 sentence reaction, spoiler free. So I went on Rowan Strang's page because I was like, there's no way in a million years he would spoil it.
Rowan's been on the podcast before.
And so
We're not just
Rowan's a well-known asshole.
And so I went on his page, and he said,
Sorry, Ron, I don't
and
know
he
you.
said, my The Force Awakens spoiler review, and it said, blank blank gets blank by his blank blank blank. And so, I was
everything.
like, okay, and then that's what it said. It said the word blank.
Oh right.
And
okay.
so I was like, okay, so someone gets killed by his father or son, and basically, and then it's only 20 minutes into the movie, it's like, your father, Han Solo, and I was like, okay. And so, and I didn't tell Rowan.
no,
this for
you were
2
just
years.
spoiled by your own intelligence then.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like,
well,
you're
because
too
he was
smart.
like, and I told Rowan, I was like, he's like, no, I wouldn't have said his. And I was like, well, you did. And then I went back and found a screenshot and proved to him that he was right.
Because you're petty like that.
Before I ever watched the TV show The Wire, someone told me that a character dies in it, and that character dies in like the 4th to last episode of the entire series.
Yeah,
so I watched
think I know the same
all
thing.
5 seasons, and knowing this character was going to die, and then
But what else have I had spoiled for me? There was another one that I defend isn't me like spoiling a film for myself, because spoiling implies that it ruins the film. We'll get to it. Mother. As that Rowan was like,
Mother!
Rowan was like, Rowan again was like, you guys have to go, like, or mainly AJ was like, you have to see Mother. Like, I don't want to spoil anything. And I was like, I could not care less about Mother. Like, I had no intention of ever seeing it. And then I was like, okay, so what is it? And then he told me, and I was like, oh, okay. And now I'm like, cool. I can be there when conversations are going on, but like
that,
I don't care, and I care less now. Even
that
though,
knowledge
knowing the
about what happens in the movie spoiled that movie less than Darren Aronofsky spoiled the movie.
Yeah.
there you go.
But what else is there?
We'll talk about it later. 'Cause
What
I
else has
haven't
there
got
been that I've like spoiled?
The Good Place.
Yeah.
But you didn't actually know the spoiler that I thought you knew for it. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Just at least I think I counted them out once, and there was like at
So
least-
you
Yeah, but
spoil,
there's
you
heaps.
spoil movies. Okay, cool.
But there's only like one or two that I've only ever like once intentionally spoiled a film that I like were actually ruined the film, and I kind of like Split. I guess is like one that.
All right, so
But
let's
again, I
talk
wouldn't
about
say it.
Split.
Split was probably one of my least disappointing films of the year. I really enjoyed it, and like removed from the twist, I thought it was a great movie. James McAvoy gives an amazing performance.
And certainly for me, it was the most mind-blowing film of the year because I didn't know the twist. I thought the twist was that whatever
Beast has
the
superpowers.
Beast is real or whatever. So, have you seen Split?
No, didn't you call me after and you were like, I have to talk
Yeah,
to
yeah,
someone.
yeah.
It's so good.
It's so funny. So for those who haven't seen Split, it's about a guy with a split personality who kidnaps a bunch of girls.
22 different personalities.
Yeah. And in the end, it reveals that Bruce Willis's character from the 1994
No.
film.
No, it was after.
Oh, no, it's just
Sixth
2000.
Sense.
2000.
2000?
Yeah.
A 2000 film, Split, Unbreakable. Blech.
Cheers, Ben.
From the film
The
Unbreakable.
last film to have Samuel Jackson have hair in it.
Yeah. Bruce Willis's character is in Split right at the end. He looks up and mentions Mr. Glass. who's
Yeah,
Samuel
he's like, they're
Jackson's
like, oh, it's
character.
like that guy a few years ago. What was his name? And then Bruce Willis, the camera pans over, Bruce Willis was like, his name was Mr. Glass.
And what I loved about that twist, like I jumped out of my seat. Like you can attest to that.
yeah,
Richard.
no, AJ was like, it was completely silent. I don't think anyone else really got it. And AJ was like, wow, I get it!
Oh. And you
I'm
so
po- I'm
needed
pointing at
other
myself.
people to know that
Well,
you got
no,
it.
that's
they're
why-
thinking
I
about
think
you.
that's 100% it.
Yeah. like-
That's why it's so strange, is because
I was the only one that got it.
no. Like Unbreakable is not in the public consciousness.
There was a
anymore.
14-year-old girl next to me who did not understand.
I mean,
I-
naturally, I explained it to her.
and she hadn't seen Unbreakable. I was like, well, you must. It's
Come round to my house.
And she's just like, the definition, the phrase mansplaining was invented for a moment such as this.
Shyamalan splaining.
Oh no.
So yeah, Unbreakable's not in the public consciousness anymore. It's not the same as revealing, I don't know, what's a movie from 2000 that people still think about. Like
Chicken Run.
even Chicken Run is probably more iconic.
It's like that thing from a few years ago, and it pans to Rocky, and he's like, it was the pies.
Entrapment.
Sure, like
Catherine Zeta-Jones and Entrapment.
Yeah,
Mission
yeah.
Impossible. Didn't we talk about
Mission
this?
Impossible is a
We
good
talked about
example.
this. What was the biggest film of 2000? I'm pretty sure we talked about this recently.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
actually
it
we
was
did.
Mission
Yeah.
Impossible.
So it was Mission Impossible 2. So if Split had suddenly panned to Tom Cruise, who made a reference to a Mission Impossible film, people would be like, it's a Mission Impossible sequel.
People are like, oh, it's a sequel to Mission Impossible 2,
Yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
film of 2000.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Unbreakable.
Gladiator. Gladiator's a good example.
Okay, the Unbreakable Gladiator would have been awesome. Imagine if it panned to
Or
No,
American
no.
Psycho.
No, if it was a sequel to
X-Men.
no, A Beautiful Mind.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That would have been interesting. at least.
But you know, like the only people I know who talk about Unbreakable are people
me
like
and you.
like us.
Who are fans of M. Night Shyamalan and go, "Oh, what was the deal with that?
Imagine if it panned across and it was the Grinch.
Oh man.
Or if it was like the three guys from Vertical Limit being like it was that
Hey,
fucking mountain.
Chris O'Donnell needs more work. He is a good actor.
Josh Thompson says, "So should I watch Unbreakable first?" I don't know. It's all right. I'm not a big fan of.
I'm going to say
Unbreakable.
don't watch. You don't have time in your life to watch Unbreakable.
Jeremy's on that hating Shyamalan train, but
Well,
do you know?
because
Do you know what's, yeah, no,
he
so
probably
you go.
deserves it.
he deserves it. Like, he's done... How many movies has he produced? Like, what, 10, 11?
Probably less than that. Probably
Two of them have been good.
Which two?
Well, Sixth Sense, and I'm just generously giving him another one that I can't remember at the moment.
Split is really
Split's
good.
pretty good. Signs has become,
Oh, sorry, Signs. Everyone loves Signs. I was just like,
and Unbreakable is held quite high regard as well.
The Village, I think, is actually held in quite
I
high
like-
regard.
I
I,
like The
did not
Village.
like it,
I like
but
The
I
Village.
get that people do, and I'm fine with that.
I'm a big fan of.
People are
The
not
Last
allowed to
Airbender.
like. People are not allowed to like The Happening. They're not allowed to like Lady in the Water, and they're not allowed to like Unbreakable.
What
In
Unbreakable?
Last Airbender.
You mean Last Airbender? I feel is his
I forgot
magnum
about-
opus
I
of
forg-
dung.
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the one that people were like, M. Night Shyamalan, get out of the woods.
I've erased that from my memory because I didn't even see it. So
I watched it very briefly, and it's such a like as someone who doesn't really care about the TV show, like it's not a good film.
Yeah.
Objectively.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
You
that
know,
was-
it's an interesting thing that we sort of talked about yesterday. There was like one of those things of like perfectly articulating it is that like this is just a general statement about me and AJ is that I'm always angry and AJ's always sad.
Bringing that up. I should like a better way to put it is if the philosophy from Inside Out is real,
Oh, yeah.
and we are each driven by a different
Right.
one of the 5 emotions, I would be driven by sadness because I react to things with like a defense and
With a
like a
defeat.
Yeah, defeat. Whereas you react to things as an explosion and an attack.
Well, you're either that or you're the worry, like the Bill Hader.
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like thinking back about
You'd be disgusted.
I'm,
Jeremy.
I'm disgust and joy. I'm going to claim that. I'm going to claim
but thinking about it it's like because yeah I am always angry but
That's your secret.
that's my secret yeah yeah no but like thinking back about all these films I was actually really optimistic about actually even coming off the back of 2016 being a pretty disappointing year for cinema but like I remain pretty optimistic about films until the last moment and like there's a few examples that we'll get to that of times where I was like even walking into the cinema I was like this should be good
But this year has objectively been better.
oh hell
that.
yeah
So much better than
Oh, yeah.
2016.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed by this year at all. I think we've had some incredible
Turn the
films
podcast
this
off.
We've had we've had some of the best movies of the last 10 years this year, I reckon.
I reckon we've had some of the best movies of all time.
Oh my god! You can't say that.
All right, yeah. So Split, I was
Record scratch.
Split,
Yep, that's me. Sorry.
yeah. Split was one of those interesting ones that I just wouldn't have seen it or ever thought twice about it unless I knew the twist. But I'm glad that got me into the cinema, and it didn't. If anything, because it got me into the cinema, it increased my enjoyment of it because I wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
James McAvoy's pretty awesome in it. And
hell yeah.
he toes that line of being... It's like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight crossed with the worst Nicolas Cage performance. But somehow it works. Like he does so many things in that where you're like... If this was a different actor, this would be laughably bad.
Right.
But
Yeah.
he just pulls it off.
He's so good in it.
That's the only reason I'd see that film because I'm not interested in the premise. I'm not interested in that
Neither.
type of movie.
Yeah,
neither.
Yeah.
And so, but I think he's a great actor. And I haven't seen him in anything recently.
Like objectively, he probably is one of the best performances this year. Like, but he's not even going to get nominated for an Oscar. No way.
Because M. Night Shyamalan is not the kind of filmmaker that the
Well,
Academy
it's just-
will pay
You're
attention
not
to.
welcome here.
Well, I mean, they don't nominate films that came out on the 2nd of February.
Yeah,
because
totally.
the Academy has like a 1 month memory span. I mean, this year they'll probably extend it to Dunkirk.
Yeah.
And possibly Get Out, but yeah, no, there's Oscar season for a reason, I guess. But
That's the reason for the season.
but yeah, no,
Season's greetings.
Split, yeah, that was probably one
Cool.
of
I
the
think
best.
that's
Because there's a couple
way
of,
too long to have
there's a
talked
couple
about
of
Split. We
scenes.
should move on.
There's a couple of scenes where he like he transitions between two characters.
Yeah.
Like she's like talking to, and so he is like you see him playing a character, and then you see him playing a character pretending to be that character, and they're slightly different.
Yeah.
There's a
Wow.
lot of real good shit like that.
That's amazing.
So after that, 9th of February, day after my birthday, we had
Oh, good.
50 Shades Darker.
Are we going to have spoilers for 50 Shades Darker?
You see it?
None at all.
No.
I don't know. Did he hang Dom? Did we find out?
I think we would have heard about it.
Yeah,
We
I
would have
actually
heard
think
about it.
I think I looked it up and he doesn't.
You're like, should I go see 50 Shades Dark?
Turns out no. So I've got it here. It didn't come out at this time in New Zealand, but
Hang dong. I love it.
John Wick 2
Oh, yeah.
came out a wee bit later for us. Did you see it?
No.
I saw it. Did you
Yeah.
see it, Richard?
Yeah, I went with Drew Nemia. We
That's
sat
right.
in gold class.
Okay, I've got so I
You
think
got fancy with a celebrity.
I think
Ooh.
if I was to talk objectively, I don't think it's as groundbreaking as John Wick 1 was. Like I think
It's quite derivative. It takes a lot from John Wick.
yeah. But I
In
wouldn't
fact, most of the, the letters in the title.
I wouldn't say I would. Well, there are more letters in the title for John Wick
chapter
Chapter 2.
two.
Literally just one.
No, there's
it's
chapter
chapter
2.
two.
Oh.
Got him.
Got him. I'm right. Get out of my house.
I think what I don't think it's as good of a movie as John Wick 1, but what I do think is that it did everything right. It did what John Wick 2 should do, which was build a world. Like if the first one is so great because it's like it's a premise as simple as
It's like a bottle episode.
yeah, it's a premise as simple as like the greatest action
bigger
movies.
world as well.
Yeah, and John
This
Wick
is the hotel, isn't it? Like there's some hotel. Or something
that's
that-
part of it.
Yeah,
Like so John Wick 1 is about a guy whose dog is killed and he wants revenge.
And you get
That's
this,
it.
but you get this glimpse into this world of
Yeah, Hitman.
Hitmen, and then
Yeah.
you see more of the
And
world
John
as
Wick Chapter 2 is let's take a further look at this world. And for that, I was like, this is great. It's not as good because it's by design not as refreshing of a concept, but I like this world. I like the stuff they're saying. This
Yeah.
is interesting stuff.
Well,
So-
it's interesting because I did see The Raid. I didn't see The Raid 2. But, like, The Raid, again, such a great concept for an action movie because it's just one building.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah, the Raid 2 is very different.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I listened to you guys, the
They're
podcast that
completely
you did,
different
because
films,
I'm a good friend. But, yeah, just, like, The Raid 2 came out and I was like, I don't need to see that again. Like, I've seen that concept and it was really great for one movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably doesn't need
the Raid Barrendale is completely different.
Yeah.
It's like clearly the same voices behind them, but they're completely different films.
Yeah.
we have a couple comments. Kaori Naitoro says Arrival, but I don't think that came out this
No,
year.
sorry, that was my favourite film of last year.
Kieran, friend of the podcast, Kieran Bennett says Richard and AJ need to kiss. Stay watching till the end. And Kaori also says Spider-Man Homecoming, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Do you
at
have
some
your
point.
phone like upside down?
Yeah.
Wow.
Aren't I a
It's a
Marvel?
new thing he's trying.
Yeah, it's the,
Spider-Man
these
Homecoming,
things,
we'll
this
get to.
thing, and this thing.
I'm
It's
doing
like-
everything just to try and be interesting.
If there's any girls out there,
Look, if there's any ladies watching this live stream,
I've got an upside down phone.
I'm this interesting in real life.
these are not. Okay, so 16th of Feb. This
so
was
dismissive.
a film that I probably said I was quite excited to see, but I never saw. Is Martin Scorsese's Silence.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. I had lots of friends who said it was great, but then the critics all said it was boring, and I was just like,
Yeah, it was like 3 hours long.
I also didn't have anyone to go see it with because you
I
got
would've gone
to.
with you.
I need to start thinking of you more when I'm thinking like, who would watch a depressing film that's supposed to have good directing and good acting in it?
Yeah, I mean, like, you think of AJ as being like the depressing one, but I like to.
No,
have
AJ
sit
will
films
watch it
like
and be
that.
like, oh, what was that? Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, AJ just sort of waddles home and goes, oh, whatever.
It's true.
It's true. It's exactly
It's
what
all
I am.
true.
Yep.
It's
true,
a force,
all
all
of
of it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a movie that I think I'm glad that Martin Scorsese made it because it was obviously a story that was on his mind for a very long time. Apparently, it said a lot of really amazing things about kind of the place of faith and doubt and all that sort of stuff in both our individual lives and also in culture. So it's definitely on brand for me. But
It's a very nuanced review of a film you haven't seen.
Speaking of faith and doubt, have either of you guys ever seen a film called Doubt?
yeah. Fucking
Fuck,
love
it's
it.
good.
So good.
Such a good
I
movie.
have not seen Doubt.
Such a good movie. It's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I love
Amy
how
Adams,
you're
and
like,
Meryl Streep.
yeah, have you seen this like underground film Doubt that was nominated for like 4 Academy Awards?
Yeah, oh
in
my
the year that it
Like
came
in
out?
Pitch
Literally-
Perfect 1, where she's like, you know David Guetta?
Literally stars Meryl Streep. It's like, yeah, real under the radar.
I hadn't like
Have you guys seen this,
I hadn't really
this
hit it though.
underground Meryl Streep film called It's Complicated with Alec Baldwin in it?
Nancy Myers, man, she can do no wrong.
Speaking of Pitch
I know who
Perfect,
that
I have a story I need to tell when we get to. Oh fuck! Pitch Perfect 3 didn't even come out this year, so it's not on. It's on my
It
list.
did. It's come
No,
out.
it comes out on 1st of January.
Oh, that's right.
It was on my list though. It
Damn
was
it.
supposed to come out on 22nd of December. But
They got too ashamed and they were like, no, we need to put it.
It's the last call. It's the last call. I don't want to do it yet.
Once we release it, guys, it's over. No, but talking about, I told AJ this story, but I think it's a good story to tell on the podcast, is that we were at work discussing...
Is this the story of how Pitch Perfect 3 was spoiled for you?
No, talking about because people hadn't seen The Last Jedi, so they're like, and someone had, and they were like talking about how so it was actually Kieran, friend of the podcast, who commented earlier, saying, I don't want to know if there's a twist in The Last Jedi. And you know, I wasn't saying anything about The Last Jedi, but this girl was like, oh well, like no, obviously there's a twist in it, kind of thing. And he's like, well, no, that's a spoiler. And she's like, no, every film has a twist. And so I was like, you're wrong. Like, you're actually just wrong. But like, because but then like searching my brain, I was like, yeah, thinking twist, films without twist, but I could only think of films that have twists. And then I was like, Back to the Future, one of the greatest films of all time, doesn't have a twist. And then she was like, oh, no. Oh, no, what about when they're in the car and she's trying to kiss him, but it's his mum? And I was like...
When was the last time you saw Back to the Future?
And I was like, what the heck? That's not a twist. What are you talking
It's
about?
well known
And,
for like...
yeah, that's the point. And she's
It's
like,
a twist for the character of the mum if she found out about
yeah, no,
it.
she doesn't even find out at that point. And so
She
it's
doesn't
like,
find out.
and so yeah, it's like that's not a twist. It's objectively not a twist. And she's like, no, well, like, you know, like she got quite frustrated. I was like, no, it's just like simple story structure. Like it goes up and then it comes down, and that's the twist. And we're like, what? No, like, and she's like trying to.
What she's saying
she's
is-
saying is that and then she said, no, every film has like a low point for the character.
Which is
I
not
feel
a
like she
twist.
just watched The Prestige and thinks that's like, it's like, ooh,
This
it's
is
the
what
turn.
movies are.
It's the turn.
But and then she's like, no, yeah, so that's like the twist down there. And then she did that thing where, you know, like when someone keeps changing their arguments so that they always end it right. And she was like, no, every film has a plot points. And we're like, yeah, okay. And then I was like, it came up again later on because like someone was telling the story and she was there. It's like, no, like every film does have a twist. And I was like, no, a twist is a new piece of information that makes you rethink the information you already have. I was like, that's the most like succinct explanation I can think of what a twist is. And I was like, I Am Your Father. Spoilers for The Empire Strikes Back. I Am Your Father is like the quintessential movie twist. And she goes, no, that's not even a twist though. And I was like,
You look up twist in the dictionary. For example, in Empire Strikes Back.
yeah. But she goes, no, his name is Dark Father. And I was like, I'm not going to discuss film with someone who got everything they know about film from the first Pitch Perfect movie. Because like Anna Kendrick's quirky character is like, his name is Dark Father. Like George Lucas didn't decide that he would be Luke's father until halfway through writing The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So like the fact that his name means father in German doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I just love that whole story was like
Pitch Perfect
No.
3.
The whole story was Richard being like, and I work with this dumb woman who just doesn't know what she's talking about, and I do, and I'm telling you how smart I was when I was arguing with her.
To be fair, she's lovely if she's listening.
Okay. No, well, I think what she's saying, and this is true, every film, every story has spoilers. A spoiler for Back to the Future
No,
would be he
every-
gets home in the end. That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
It's obvious, but it's a spoiler.
Well,
No, but then she was saying that in a plot structure, the characters have ups and downs, and the down is a twist.
That's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
yeah.
I just don't think that discussing this any further is good.
Yeah. But anyway,
So John Wick Chapter 2.
that's what annoyed me about the first Pitch Perfect is that her character doesn't like movies because they have dumb endings, and it's like, give your character a quirk, but that's the stupidest one. Like, and then
And then the movie that makes her love movies is The Breakfast Club. And I'm like,
she's like, the ending was amazing. I like movies now. And then she like, anyway, that's Pitch Perfect is a fucking dumb movie.
guys,
I
like Pitch
I
Perfect.
really thought I would like Pitch Perfect because I was like, this is gonna be like the new Mean Girls. It's gonna be like this like girls comedy that can like be, you know.
To be honest, Pitch Perfect, if it was Mean Girls, would just be called Nice Girls.
Yeah.
Because
That'd be-
most of them are just nice.
Drop your thoughts on Pitch Perfect in the comments below.
Oh, go fire, guys.
All right. Oh, next, February 16th, same day as Silence, we had an equally critically acclaimed film called Fist Fight. Spoilers for Fist Fight. Did you see this?
No.
This is the
Jeremy,
like,
you would love this fight.
Never even heard of this.
it's like Charlie Day and Ice Cube are like these two teachers at a school, and there's some altercation. I can't remember what it is.
He gets him fired.
Yeah, he gets him
Charlie
fired.
Day gets Ice Cube fired from
And then-
Charlie Day.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
No.
And he's
Sorry.
Pacific Rim.
Oh, yeah.
Talks like this!
Yeah.
But yeah, so and Charlie Day accidentally gets Ice Cube fired, and Ice Cube's like, right, I'm gonna beat you up, and like we're gonna have a fist fight after school, and then it's just this like comedy of errors that like goes through, and then it culminates in them actually having this fist fight. And me, AJ, and David Corias went to go see it, and because we were like, I don't know why we did. We were at Sylvia Park as well, which is like ages away from our house, but like. It's really good.
Like it got critically panned. It was like
Oh, it's like, yeah. There's some horrible stuff in it. Like, so he calls the cops. He calls 911. It's like, oh, like this man, this deranged psychopath who was like chasing him with an axe is gonna like beat him up, and then they just laugh at him. And
like
it's
you're a grown up. You're not getting beaten up. Like the joke of it is that Charlie Day is very much the audience surrogate, where he's like, "Why do you want to beat me up? You're a grown man." And Ice Cube is like a mentally challenged.
It's basically like the conceit is it's adults behaving like teenagers at school, and they're teachers at school, so they're in the school setting, which gives that parallel, which makes it fun.
And then it culminates into one of legitimately the best fist fights I've ever seen. In a movie.
it's actually real. It's like
It's so funny.
I really love it when you watch a film, like when you watch a movie. It's not a film; it's a movie. When like everyone, especially comedies, because like comedies are so about what mood you're in when you see it. But everyone tells you it's gonna be absolutely terrible, and you just go and you just have a great time. And you're like, oh, I got one. I got one that the critics didn't get.
It's mine.
yeah, that's I was talking about this with AJ yesterday. Actually, is that like one of the movies I had that with was A Million Ways to Die in the West. Objectively horrible, but I just really felt like watching it.
I went and saw it on the opening day. I flippin' loved it for some reason. I laughed my ass off, and then like told all of my friends, "You have to go see this movie. It's so funny." And then all the critics' reviews came out in between the time I told my friends to go, and then I took some friends with me, and I just cracked up again, and everyone was sitting there being like,
You got spoilers for A Million Ways to Die in the West.
"This is the
No, I
worst."
haven't.
It's like they were like, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen."
It's horrible. It's
And
I loved it though.
But I still don't
enjoyed it.
really understand how it's horrible. Like when the big huge block of ice just.
I haven't seen it.
just
Yeah, it was one of those films that like I walked out and I was like, I've enjoyed the last hour and a half of my life, but I'm not going to tell anyone. Like I'm not going to say same thing happened with Zoolander 2. I was like, that was fine. I'm not going to recommend it to anyone. I'm not stupid.
Well, I think it depends on who you watch movies with. I remember I saw Our Idiot Brother by myself, Paul Rudd, Zoe Deschanel, and I was like,
we all know it.
I was like, oh, all right, that was average. Then I watched it with you and some of our friends. This was years ago, like 2012 or something, and I really enjoyed it watching it with people. And it's like I saw something with other people laughing at it.
people give you the permission to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
something funny.
Yeah.
Like Von and Brian, like those are my people to watch.
Von
these.
was actually watching before.
Oh,
so.
cute.
So
We just had a disconnection on the OBS, by the way, so sorry if that affected your viewing experience.
so Fist Fight would be one of my most we haven't decided what we're going for the official antonym.
Surprisingly good.
Yeah, surprisingly good or like fulfilling movie.
I'll say this: it's not without its flaws.
Oh, God, no.
Like Ice Cube's character is so irrational that it's hard to get into the premise of it. Like it's like, what is wrong with you? that
And
you
like
think this
because
is
midway through the film they try to make you sympathize with Ice Cube, being
yeah.
like, yeah, like people do need to get beaten up more, but it's just like, no, you're actually just
they
mentally
don't.
handicapped.
But that ending was so immensely satisfying. It just completely delivered on what it promised, which is something every movie should do.
Yeah, that's the thing is that you're like, I want to come to this to see a fist fight and for it to just be ridiculous, and it was.
Because it's like the last day of school, isn't it? So it creates this post-apocalypse feel to the school, like students are running rampant. So it's like it's built up quite well.
Yeah. So now one of AJ's most anticipated films of 2017. T2 Transpotting. What did you think? Give us your full review,
Come on,
AJ.
you
You've got the
are
full
ready for this.
Here you go.
What, heard it was good.
Okay, and Logan came out 2nd of March.
Oh, this was absolutely the one you were frothing over.
I was.
How many times did you watch the trailer?
And it'll be over 100, I reckon.
Yeah.
I actually just bought this on Blu-ray yesterday, and I'm going to rewatch it because I only saw it when it first came out. And our
How
initial
very 2014 of you.
our initial review was not perfect, but now I've come round to it.
I loved it.
Yeah,
You know what? I'm going to put it on my list of disappointing films of 2017.
Really?
Wow. That's so AJ of you.
AJ just leaves. All right, so did you actually keep a list of your most disappointing films of the year somewhere?
Do you want to tell us why, or are you going to?
Yeah, I thought the clone Wolverine was stupid. I have put up spoilers for Logan. I thought that.
Have you put it up? Or
Yeah, I have. I thought that I say it's disappointing, but I don't think it's a bad film. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not saying don't see it. I'm saying
Like, you were like, it didn't live up to what I thought it was going to.
but it's still one of the best X-Men films.
Oh,
ever made.
100% is one of the best X-Men films.
I thought that everything about it was pretty good, pretty interesting, pretty intriguing. Kind of like character stuff going on, especially for like there's that connection with what's his name?
Professor X.
No, what's the actor's name?
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman playing this character for the last time. You know, all that stuff is wonderful. It's great.
Yeah, totally.
The design of everything is great in it. And then like a little maybe over halfway through the movie, he's faced with his ultimate villain, and it's just a Wolverine clone. Like, literally, it's Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine.
No.
And I get the symbolism. You don't need to explain this. I get that it's like his greatest enemy was himself. But everything else in that movie is so grounded and so real and emotional, and like that felt like something out of
Do you think
X3,
Do you think
X2.
basically because it was? Do you think if they had a cloned version that was played by another actor who was actually young rather than a CGI version of
If
himself,
that was how they
if they
rebooted it.
removed the gimmick out of it,
Maybe.
of like a CGI version?
Well, okay. Part of another issue is the guy with the robot hand who looked like Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, and he just didn't. There wasn't. They introduced this villain, and then he was just like not really a thing.
I thought he was so much more interesting
he
than
was
a
cool
clone
villain.
than a clone Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like, and if they had doubled those character, make it someone who could capably fight Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because obviously this guy with the robot hand couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked
Mix
his
those
introduction
characters
scene was
together.
really cool when he's like, "I'm a big fan of yours."
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool when he
he's
got
a
in
cool
the back
character.
of the, yeah.
Do you remember how that guy dies?
Yeah,
He gets pulled under the ground by like a nature controlling mutant, and it's so quiet, and it's like
Right, yeah,
he was like way more interesting than X-24.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's another thing is like I feel like you shouldn't introduce X-23 and X-24 in the same movie. I
like
feel
a little girl?
Yeah. I feel like that undermines the significance of her as the central.
it's
MacGuffin.
interesting because we'll talk about this more.
Coyote says the kids were dumb in the Wolverine movie. Adam says AJ speaking my mind on Logan.
Yeah,
You've
like
got friends, AJ.
Okay, we'll talk about it more when we get towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those films that it has good and bad stuff, but the bad stuff, like on the whole, I'd still call it an enjoyable movie.
Yep.
Where there's and things that like I get, but they looked kind of silly on screen. Didn't bother me as much in this film as they did in another film that came out this
And
year.
I'm the
That
opposite.
we all
so
know.
Opposite
so
of
I
that.
think the way I feel about Logan is probably the way you feel about the other film, whereas the other film is you feel what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
And no spoilers for that film. We'll get to it. When we
The
get
thing
to
that I really loved about Logan, though, is I feel like Logan is the best post-Trump movie that I've seen. Because it basically... It's very rare that you get, especially with a big action film, that you get characters that are living the kind of life in like small town USA with no money and really struggling with like health issues, aging, a health system that doesn't care, you know, all this sort of stuff. Like, I loved the fact that the mutants, even though they're these otherworldly mutants, as they are getting older and losing their power or losing control of their power, that actually that they are avatars for, it's, you know, it's where sci-fi is at its best, when it's actually amping up the reality of people's lived every day. And I think that, you know, actually seeing like, you know, the death of the mutants as kind of almost like the ending of the great age of America. Like, I loved it. I thought it was so good. And the fact that it was showing like kind of the interplay between, you know, the on the border of Mexico and America and all this stuff. It felt very current. It felt very now, but also felt like it wasn't. I'm always amazed by films when they can do that in a way that doesn't feel like shoved into a narrative about characters we already care about. That it actually felt completely genuine to the story of where Logan and Professor X would get to if they were in that situation. And I felt like all the characters made decisions that were totally in line with who they had been throughout the whole series. And like the bit with, you know, they go to Las Vegas and Professor X is in the bedroom and they're watching that movie, like all of that could have felt really cheesy, but they just did it and they created an atmosphere in the film that I thought was just beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like for what the risks it took and what it means for films now, I can forgive a few minor quabbles
to get you to the point that they got
Yeah,
to.
whereas the other film,
Oh my
which we
gosh.
won't mention yet, I though they were enough to ruin my experience.
Yeah. Just the last lines that Logan says. Oh my gosh. I actually cried. And I was just like, never thought I'd cry at an X-Men film.
Yeah.
But when he said like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. And I was just like,
He was superseded by Mr. Poopy Butthole from Rick and Morty, though. When he gets shot at the end of that episode, he's like, "Oh God, is this what dying feels like?"
you are the worst person.
No, look, my review of Logan is, oh my goodness, so good. Go see it. There's a few raisins in the salad, but go see it.
I like raisins. Oh, anyway, continue.
I don't like raisins.
Jeremy's review is, go see it. There's a few raisins in the salad.
How good. All right. Very
All
good.
right, so that's Logan. Another film I didn't see, but AJ, I feel like I might have to grab your bit of paper back off you and write on it for you. Kong Skull Island.
Oh, yep, Kong Skull Island. Got...
Would you say that's one of your most disappointing? Do you want me to add to your list for you?
Yep. No, don't. I wouldn't say it's one of my most disappointing because I wasn't expecting it to
No.
be good.
Jeremy, is it on your list?
The trailers were so kind of like bipolar. We talked about this before that it was like, this movie doesn't look like it has a very strong direction. And it's
You're out there, Jonathan Vogt Roberts.
yeah.
Vogt.
It's a movie that a lot of people really liked it, but no one's talking about it.
I've heard
anymore.
nothing but good things apart from you.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I think stylistically it was really beautifully shot. They created a whole bunch of really incredible visual moments. And obviously I think the guy comes from a music video background, which you can tell. Because he's really good at, like, the film has some great, some beautiful visuals and like the ideas of where he placed battles. You know, where he put like the battle where Kong's in the forest and the helicopters are going around above, like all those set pieces were great. But like they just randomly introduced characters in the middle of the thing,
his
took
name's
characters
Jordan, not
out,
Jonathan.
and like it made no narrative sense,
Yeah.
which was frustrating because it was like for a movie that's so well made visually, you want it to be matched with the story, and also there were some cool characters in there, and then there were characters that were just acting. It's always disappointing when you see a film and you're like, oh, that person in the film is only behaving like that because the script is telling them to behave like that because they need to get everyone to this point, rather than that character feels fully fleshed out and that person is making decisions which are authentic to their character.
So the best thing about Kong Skull Island is John C. Reilly's backstory, which isn't the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem is that
They open with it.
It opens with the young version of John C. Reilly's character, and he parachutes onto Skull Island with another Japanese soldier in World War II, and they go to fight each other. They're stuck on this island. They go to fight each other, and then they're completely like thrown off by Kong. When you find him, when they go to the main characters go to the island like 30 years later, they find him again, and he talks about how his Japanese soldier friend, they became friends, he died, da da da. Goodness me, that's a way more interesting story. Like imagine that, like the unconventional friendship of two people with completely conflicting ideologies,
and then
learning to love
finding
each
Kong
other.
on that island while they're also negotiating language and all that sort of stuff. The thing that was really interesting is that it's almost like they fully wrote the script for the film, and then they had like this little side story about John C. Reilly's character growing, older, and then all of a sudden this like group of Americans come and like find him, and they get introduced halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Tom Hiddleston became attached to the film, and they were like, where are we going to put him?
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a big star now. Oh, well, let's just completely ditch this whole, John C. Reilly story. Let's amp up the American Search Party and just stick him in it for some reason.
For the record, Tom Hiddleston is terrible in this film.
Yeah.
He has cheese. It made me think, is Tom Hiddleston a bad actor? Like, because I've seen him as Loki, which you can't really be bad at because it's so verbose.
And you're given a lot with Loki in the script.
I don't. I'm hedging my bets on Tom Hiddleston's abilities.
No, but Night
like,
Manager is good.
Yeah, based on Loki and Kong Skull.
Yeah. No, because there's a part, I can't remember what the line is, but there's a part where him and Brie Larson are like staring out at the night jungle, or the jungle.
Just before King Kong raises up in front
and he
of him.
says something that I can't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it was so cheesy.
But
and it was
you've
so
got to remember
cliche.
that's the writing as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
writing and direction, I think, Tom Hiddleston, I think, is a good actor.
But the thing that was really stupid about it was, I can't remember why, but that there's a whole bunch of stuff in there where like characters just do stuff just so you can get. Just so there can be problems created. So they make really... like Samuel Jackson's character is just stupidly obsessed in one direction.
Yeah.
And you're like...
Because Samuel Jackson's terrible.
Well, okay.
Anyway.
The other big problem I would say with it is John Goodman's character I quite liked.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, we have to find the monster. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's
Can
the...
you do his voice?
No, I can't. I don't think I can. It's very like... It sounds like he's got something in his mouth. But his character is basically the... what's an example from literature? Like the obsessed guy who... Like the Machiavellian character. Who,
Yeah, he's the crazed scientist who tricks everyone else into coming with him.
there you go.
so
Sort of like...
that he can do his
The
experiments.
director from the actual King Kong story was played by Jack Black in the Peter Jackson version. He's kind of like that because he's like the one who throws everything to get what he wants. He dies halfway through the film.
Yeah.
And it was like, he's kind of like the person driving
Yeah,
this
exactly.
story.
He was the advancing character who like...
Everyone's just like, oh, I might as well just go home now.
Yeah.
Because and then they were like, oh, but Samuel Jackson's character just wants to blow everything to shit.
Yeah.
And that's enough
course
of
he
a
does.
driving force to... And it's just...
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So
like
Scarlet.
Scotland.
Carly says Brie Larson was horribly cast. Okay.
I think he's right.
I don't, yeah.
And the thing is with Brie Larson's character is that it was very much like, oh no, oh crap, guys, we've just written a movie that has no women in it. okay. Hey, Brie Larson just won an Academy Award for Room. She played a strong woman.
Yeah.
Let's get her in there
Very
quickly. Write
T-
scenes
t-
where she gets into trouble.
Toriel syndrome from the second Hobbit
Oh
film.
my god! No, please don't get me there.
Let's talk about The Hobbit.
All right, what's next?
Okay, 12th of March brought us a Critical Darling. You're going to need to put up spoilers for this one. I think you know what it's going to be. The Boss, the Baby, the Boss Baby. Now, most disappointing film of the year?
I'd be entirely happy if we didn't talk about this at
The
all.
Boss Baby is the most disappointing film of 2006. That's my take on it. This movie should not have come out this year. This movie is like so
Ahead of its time.
behind on its time. like yeah, it's the same with the Emoji Movie, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. Like these movies would be like would fit 10 years ago, you know, but they don't.
When computer animation was becoming a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like Tad the Explorer.
yeah. We saw a trailer for
Or
Tad
Bolt.
the Explorer.
Have you had
Bolt.
Tad, like
Remember
this movie Tad the Explorer?
No.
That's like coming out next year. We saw a trailer for it last night. I'd never heard of this film. The animation looks awful. It's so surreal.
And the really sad thing about animated films that are that bad is you know that like animators spent literally like a year and a half of their life like creating one of the scenes.
yeah.
The Boss Baby is just it's a bad idea. It's a confusing idea to like bring people in on. Why is the baby a boss? They kind of explain it, but it's
Well,
still not
I'm sure
satisfying.
it works better as a picture book. When
Yeah,
you're just like,
yeah.
oh, the babies are people, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they go down and they do.
People.
Yeah,
There's
like,
a society of babies in heaven that gets sent down.
well, I don't
to
think it's
Earth.
established that it's heaven.
Well, it's a place in the clouds then.
I don't have room in my brain for this, guys. I just don't care.
But yeah, there's
I wanted to
a-
see the Boss Baby at like 9:30 in the morning for the like peak miserable viewing experience.
I love, but yeah, like Jimmy Kimmel's in it. He voices the dad, and it's like,
The
and
thing
like
is-
Toby Maguire's in it.
Now
What are you doing, Toby?
The problem is that like
was
so many,
Spider-Man.
there's been so many animated films that have been like breakout hits that basically I feel like animated film companies go to celebrities and they're like, hey, want to do a voice? It'll take you one day to record all your
Yeah.
lines. And like, yeah, why not? It could become successful and I get a lot of money for it.
It's funny. Before the Boss Baby, we went into it, and I was like, AJ, I bet there's a scene in this film where it goes into slow motion, and we see a close up of someone's facial expressions, and they're really exaggerated in slow motion. And then, like 20 minutes into the film, there it is. It's like,
It's the B movie of 2017.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Although Ferdinand, Jerry's still out on Ferdinand.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
Don't disappoint me, John C. Not again.
Yeah, Boss Baby, it's like, I wanted it to be, there was one that I wanted to be good, because I was like, everyone's like, this trailer looks awful. I was like, the baby's talking like Alec Baldwin, that's funny. But it's weird, like,
Spicy tuna roll.
and like
Alec Baldwin
St.
impression, I
Pierre's
guess.
sushi had like spicy tuna roll. Like, you could like, it's like, get a spicy tuna roll. And
Like in the Boss Baby. They were like, finally, a movie's acknowledged spicy
The
tuna roll.
the Venn diagram of people who are going to go see that and who have the disposable income of their own to actually buy a spicy tuna roll.
A spicy tuna roll is expensive.
So small. Or just, what
Sushi,
child who's going to enjoy that movie is going to be like, Mum, get me
So,
a
Boss
spicy
Baby,
tuna
don't
roll.
need to add it to your list of most disappointing.
No, thank you.
All right, Jeremy.
No,
Okay.
I value my list too much.
So another one that I don't think any of us saw, but by all accounts is pretty disappointing. Rings.
No,
didn't
the
see
Ring
it.
sequel. That was one. And if you missed my hilarious joke last year, on the most anticipated podcast, that
Are
like,
you going to share it again?
I'm gonna share it again because AJ missed it at the time and then messaged me like a month later being like, oh, I just heard your joke now, that was hilarious. But it's like, so talking about how like rings, they're like, oh, on this one it's a viral video, and I was like, here, tag your friends to totally kill them, and neither of you responded to it, and we just glossed over it. But then AJ responded.
The funniest part of that story is you revealing that AJ listened to this podcast
month
again
after.
a month after we did it.
Josh Thompson says Jeremy is so over this.
I'm just like, honestly, we're like, oh, no one's seen this film. Let's talk about it for 10 minutes.
The next, okay, we've got one
Thank
film
you,
to get
Josh.
out of the way, and then we've got one that I'm sure you have a lot to say about Jeremy. Okay, so did you see Power Rangers?
No.
I saw it. It's
Spoilers?
No spoilers for Power Rangers. It's not bad. It's like it's one of those films that you just can't take seriously.
Yeah.
Like I went being like, ugh. And then the opening, then within the first like 30 seconds, there's a joke about like masturbating a cat or a bull.
Classic Power Rangers.
Yeah, they're like, they're talking about like, oh yeah, like, oh she should, it's like, it might be a cow, and it's like, oh she should be happy. I just milked her, and it's like, this is a bull. And he's like, oh, I was wondering why there's only
And
one
then-
udder.
And that's why her name is Rita Repulsa.
And then big block letters masturbation go la across the screen.
But there's like, yeah, I just remember like when I got into it, there was like the opening scene ends with the main character being in a car accident, and so there's like this big car accident, the car rolls, and it's like him upside down being like, and then it's like, Power Rangers, and I cracked up, and I was like, oh my god, I'm
That's
just
the
gonna
hero shot.
enjoy this movie. And I was at a screening for cast and crew of Power Rangers that shoots in New Zealand, in Auckland, and I was like pissing myself laughing. And Jess, who I was with, who worked there, was like, oh my god, you're so embarrassing. Because I was like cracking up at this, and it's like, this is people who like live and breathe Power Rangers. And I was just cracking up. But then like, after like 20 minutes of me just laughing, I just got I
you leave?
she got over it and thought, I'll just let him enjoy it. But also another real funny thing at the start of that is Bryan Cranston's in it.
Yeah, as the head.
Yeah, as the head, but the I actually think it might be
called the Power Rangers.
the might actually be the very very opening of the film. Is it's like back like a million years ago, and
Is it a sequel to Breaking Bad?
my
Is that
God,
the
very
twist
amazing.
of Power Rangers?
no, he's playing this like he's all in like heavy makeup, and he's like speaking some like other language, but he's like the subtitles. He's like, oh, you'll never get away with this, Rita. But he's like, Rita. Yeah, that was funny, and then yeah, it's just stupid. But that's one of those like, oh my god, one of the characters is like, it was a huge thing for him. One of the characters is a lesbian, like so progressive. But it's literally like a character. The only reference to it in the film is someone's like, oh, are you okay? Was it boy problems? And then they're like, girl problems, and then she just like doesn't respond, and that's it.
Confirmed.
But yeah, I mean,
Illuminati confirmed.
maybe they'll go into it more in the sequel, which
Will not happen.
no, it has a sequel tease at the end of it. Spoilers for Power Rangers. There's a post-credit scene that like someone's like Tommy, which is the Green Ranger or something like that. All right, film came
White
out
Ranger.
30th of March. Boom, Beauty and the Beast. Jeremy, go. I'm sure
Oh
you've got a big
man,
rant to
Beauty
have.
and the Beast. I have to say this is my most non-disappointing film compared to what I thought it was going to be. I actually went into.
okay.
I don't know if you remember me. You probably didn't. You
I don't know
probably
if you
erased it
remember
from
me.
your mind.
I'm Jeremy.
But hello, I'm German. I was massive hater on Emma Watson's singing, and was just like, this is going to be really disappointing. It's just, what's the point of doing Beauty and the Beast as a live action? I went into it, and I think having those lower expectations really helped me to have a great time, which is nice. And I just absolutely loved it. It was magic. And yes, her singing is not as good, but it wasn't as distractingly noticeable that she was auto-tuned as I thought it was going to be. And I thought the casting was really great. I really loved what they did with the village. I thought all of that was really cool. And the Beast's design wasn't as bad in the whole movie as I thought it was going to be. And the new songs were pleasant.
I liked the new song.
Oh, the new song I thought was
Which
really
one?
good. The,
And I know she'll never
Evermore.
leave me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if that's nominated for an Oscar because I'd love
that's
to
the
see...
only reason they've made
I'd love to see. Well, they actually had 2 new songs, and because they had the one in Paris, the song that Kevin Kline sings about the mother, and then they also had the aria sung by Audra McDonald, who was the wardrobe at the beginning. Anyway, I would love to see Josh Groban sing live at the Oscars.
Yeah.
But Beauty and the Beast was a great movie. I won't probably watch it again, but it was really good.
Yeah, it was one
way
of
to
those
put it.
things that like it's fun as it's like a fun novelty of seeing an animated thing in real life. And but I wonder how much like if you'd never seen or heard of Beauty and the Beast, how you would view it.
Would it be a great movie?
Yeah,
on its
and
own?
also, did Josh Gad's character being gay ruin it for you guys?
Did you notice at all?
Who would win in a fight between Josh Gad's character being gay and the gay character from Power Rangers?
Yeah, I think I'm interested though in the fact that like obviously they in the original film, like because I went back and watched the animated film and it's just the difference between Josh Gad's character like actually being attracted to Gaston and being almost like in love with him but also in awe of him in this one versus the original LeFou who was just kind of like so like I've hitched my wagon to this guy because he's way stronger than me and I'll never be able to make it in society. So it's like how like bullies collect around them, just people who are too scared of operating on their own, so they like will hitch their wagon to a bully. It's like I think changing the dynamic of LeFou and Gaston from being like that recognizable thing to of course he's gay because that's the only reason anyone would follow this guy around. It was different, and I think it probably invites a reading of the original LeFou that I don't think is legit, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a similar sort of thing to what happened with Star Trek Beyond when they made Sulu gay in reference to
George Takei.
George Takei, and then George Takei was like,
He doesn't
"That's
need to
stupid.
be."
I don't want him to be gay." And they were, and then some people was like, "Well, you're wrong," which I thought was quite funny. Like, I mean, this guy he would have like idolized George Takei, but it's like I get that because George Takei was like, Gene Roddenberry's vision wasn't to have Sulu gay, and then his Simon Pegg was like, no, Gene Roddenberry would have been proud because it's about like diversity and that's what Star Trek always was. Kind of stuff, but I do kind of side with Simon Pegg, and it's like it's a reboot. You can do whatever you want with the characters, but similar kind of thing is that like this weird back and forth of them being like, yeah, a character's gay in this, and then Josh Gad's like, I didn't know he was gay. I didn't play him as gay, and then ended up getting banned in Russia because of
Malaysia,
because of having a homosexual character.
And
It's like-
literally all that happens at the end is like he gets sort of thrown into dancing with a guy, and the guy's like, hey, and he's like, hey, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And there you go. And I'm like, I thought it was really interesting how they obviously made a call in the last like 3 weeks in the marketing department to be like, yes, let's go big on this. And then it's like actually, and that's the most disappointing thing I think for sort of the
write
gay
that down
community
for
is is that they're like, oh, we've got representation in this film, and then they go along and they're like, no.
Yeah, like just last week I had this in Power Rangers, and now I've got this.
I was pretty unmoved by Beauty and the Beast. Both you guys told me that you really liked it, and I went to it.
That's interesting because I don't like now. I'm like whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like at the time I probably didn't. Enjoy it.
I thought it was fine. I don't really remember the animated film too much. I haven't seen it recently. But what it was more for me was like, yeah, it's cool to see this in real life, and I'll go see Aladdin because I'm interested. I like Aladdin, but it's still like, is this the next thing? Like,
Well, and this is the thing though. It's like I feel like we all have a duty to go see these movies.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't want to actually go see these movies because I'm like, oh well, I like the original. Now I need to see what the difference is. It's a really crap way of getting people to go to the movies. And the thing is, it's cynically really smart because I am going to go see it. but it's just not a good way of making
Well,
movies.
and that's what I'm saying. Is this the next
Yeah.
big thing in
it's
movies?
Star Wars,
Yeah.
like you're gonna go see every Star Wars movie because it's Star Wars. And after this one, spoilers for later on in this conversation, but after this Star Wars movie, I was just like, I wonder when it's gonna be like I didn't go see Justice League this year. I didn't, because I was just like, you know what, I just can't be bothered. And I've seen every other DC and Marvel movie, but I'm like, I wonder when the first Star Wars movie is gonna when it's gonna be the first Star Wars movie that I just go, you know what, not for me this time.
Yeah, like it's interesting, and it kind of harkens back to the conversation I was saying earlier about AJ always being sad. Is that like that I can, like, I feel like I tend to be quite optimistic about movies, which is I wouldn't think I would be. I'd like. I would consider myself quite a cynic.
It's just you want movies to be good.
Yeah, and so like I can go to some. For those listening on the podcast, AJ sat down and his
suspenders erupted from behind him.
From his butt. Yeah, but something like Beauty and the Beast, I can go to. I like looking back. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing particularly incredible about it. But at the time, I was able to lose myself in
was magic.
a magical movie for an hour and a half.
The set design was amazing.
Yeah,
Like that's
I can, like it's that like I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend it to people because it has its flaws, but it's like, yeah, I was able to enjoy it for an hour and a half. So.
Scott says, "Hey AJ, nice hat, brah. Shout out to the tiger in the top right." Over there, or there's a lot of tigers in this room, isn't it?
Tiger.
Yeah.
But so Beauty and the Beast, not anyone's most disappointing film.
No, but I'm disappointed that
These are getting made.
these are getting made. Yeah,
All right. Next one, I think you saw this one, Ghost in the Shell.
yeah I saw it.
Jeremy, disappointing.
They won't. I'm not going to write spoilers. Not going to be spoilers for this. Disappointing in the sense that it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't surprisingly good. Not my most disappointing. I barely remember it. The main thing I remember thinking was that it ends at what feels like is the end of the second act and needed another maybe 40 minutes to really like amp it up.
Wow.
I hear 40 minutes thrown around. We're talking about movies a lot. It's never that it needs 40 minutes more.
So it needs to be a more disciplined movie all the way through.
Yeah, I've like 40 minutes is a good amount of time to like cut out of something like the other movie, which we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, Ghost in the Shell, not disappointing. All right, the 30th of March.
We're
Which
only
I think
at
we
the
got
end
it.
of March.
Yep. We're about a third of the way through. Lego Batman.
I wasn't disappointed by it.
Yeah,
You see it?
that's fine.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I didn't think. I mean, it wasn't as good as the Lego Movie, but that's because the Lego Movie was as good as it was.
Yeah, I think there's a funny thing with the Lego Batman movie that like reading reviews of it, everyone's like, oh, it doesn't like the second half isn't very good. But it's like your complaint is that the first half hour is so good that the rest of the movie just doesn't live up to it.
Yeah.
That movie starts so strong.
This is often the case, though, with really creative attempts at doing superhero or like movies that are like kids' movies, is that there's sort of room in the beginning to explore characters, and you're like, oh, this is really funny. They get to do all these cool jokes, but then at a certain point, every superhero movie needs to become about defeating the bad guy, and it's
Yeah.
like whenever these movies like slip into the
twist.
push to the end of like, hey, we now need to turn around and just focus on the battle, then you're like, oh gosh, this is just turning into every other superhero movie. But if it didn't do that, it wouldn't be a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not disappointed. It wasn't, and the thing is with the Lego movie is that it wasn't really about defeating the superhero. It was actually about figuring out what this world is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what is this world? What is it about and why? And so it didn't need to, but because it's a Batman movie, it had to switch into the battle.
Yeah, but then I really like what they did. Spoilers for the Lego Batman movie is that it didn't become. It ended being a Lego movie more than a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And like bringing in all the other properties, I think was a great idea.
Yeah.
I didn't like how they got rid of all bad at the end though. Like all the bad guys were like,
Yeah,
oh, we'll
it's a
join in
little
as
bit
well.
cheesy,
But
yeah.
but that's
playing with
just,
Lego.
and also exactly.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
this is also I'm a 30, in my 30s. I'm not a child, and kids would love that, and I did not. So
yeah,
and
again, that's that thing of like I just have to be like, yeah, this is a kids movie.
yeah.
Smurfs: The Lost Village, April 6th.
Nope.
Most disappointing of the year, probably.
Do you want me to write that down for you?
I'll remember it.
All right, Fate of the Furious, April 12th.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about this?
I flipping love this movie, man.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to talk about it?
Yeah. I just honestly, and I said this in our most anticipated films podcast, but the Furious franchise is just this weird thing where I just don't care how ridiculous it is. In fact, the fact that it's so ridiculous, and the more ridiculous it gets, the more enjoyable it is, and I just love it. I just can't get enough of it. And like when they
Because
had,
by all accounts, this one was pretty bad.
oh, it was terrible, but it was.
But like
also-
even for people that like them.
Right, yeah, I just loved it. I mean, honestly, Jason Statham, and the really cool thing about it, the thing that I like going into it with an understanding of the drama that's going around with the in the cast,
Yeah.
makes it almost more enjoyable
Oh my gosh.
because you see like it is, because basically right at the beginning of the movie, the movie begins with this little short film about Vin Diesel's character in Cuba, right? And it's like establishing Vin Diesel as like the man who like does the street race in like this clapped out old V-dub against this souped up hot rod just so that he can like defeat the like bad guy of Cuba and like help the struggling underdog. And like he gets this little short film which you can tell that he insisted on having for his character so that he could technically be the main character in the movie, because the rest of the movie is essentially how The Rock is just the man. Because what they do is that then Vin Diesel becomes essentially the bad guy, right, with Charlize Theron, and he's gone basically, and the rest of the team is left without Vin Diesel.
The rest of his family.
Yeah, I can't believe
Sorry,
he
the
betrayed
rest
his
of-
family.
Yeah. The rest of the family. And
family.
he betrayed his family. He betrayed his family for his family. But the thing is that obviously he was really the writers were aware of the fact that they could not have Vin Diesel and The Rock in the same scene. Like literally, they are not together in the same scene ever in that movie. And like they do all their communication over like radios. There's one scene where they're supposed to be like within a few meters of each other, but like The Rock is in a truck, and Vin Diesel is at the back of the truck, and they're yelling at each other, and that's all. And then at the very end, when they have this celebratory like family meal, they're ostensibly on the same rooftop, like having a meal together, but like Vin Diesel is over at the ledge and The Rock is talking to someone else, and you're like, this is amazing that they've managed to make this whole movie with the two of them in it, never once really talking to each other at all. And it's just I
That's
love
an
it.
interesting perspective I've never heard.
Yeah. Hey, Dylan Rutland says, one sentence summary for each of you. Go. I don't know if he's talking about the movies we're talking about, or
Our
like
lives.
us as a person. Hi, I'm AJ.
Hey, Dylan.
I like
Dylan's
movies.
Dylan's a friend of mine.
Oh, there you go.
Do you want to clarify, Dylan, like what you want a summary of? Just the year?
Yeah. What do you want?
The year, yeah.
Cowdy, also referring to Vin Diesel and The Rock, says, are they too big to fit on camera together? That's a good one.
Well, that's the thing. Vin Diesel isn't. Like, Vin
No.
Diesel is actually still human-sized, whereas The Rock seems to grow.
The Rock is like a
another,
dog.
like,
I was-
4 inches all around his
I
diameter.
was listening to a
every
review
year.
on Triple X, going back to Triple X for a second, and
Spoilers?
no, they were saying like Triple X in that movie, Xander Cage in that movie, is treated like he's a hot guy. And they're like, is Vin Diesel attractive? Like, does he have that? Is he the guy who makes women like stutter when they speak to him?
Oh, man. The other really interesting,
Cage.
about Fate of the Furious is that the thing about Fate of the Furious is that now there's going to be this Rock and Jason Statham spin-off,
Yeah.
which, to be honest, is going to be so good. And like Vin Diesel and Tyrese Gibson and stuff like that are just like, no, you can't
my
ruin
gosh.
the family.
Vin Diesel's been professional about it.
Yeah,
Tyrese Gibson should be fired from those
100%. Yeah.
What does he think he's doing?
A little background for you.
Okay, so
He's on
Tyrese Gibson feels that by The Rock agreeing to being in a spin-off film and Jason Statham agreeing to be in a spin-off film, they are pushing back the release date of the next Fast and Furious movie.
Well, he was like, if you agree to do this spin-off, it's going to push back. We've announced this release date. Fast and Furious fans, like, get excited for these films. You're ruining the fans' experience if you do it and all this stuff.
Yeah, and so basically he released this massive tweet tirade that's like the thoughts of a madman. It's just
And all it is, and it's just so transparently jealousy.
Yeah,
like, he's
yeah,
just
yeah.
jealous that he's not part
The Rock
of the really
came
cool
in
stuff.
later on, and Tyrese has been since the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
one. And he's like, if you do this spin-off, I'm not going to be in them anymore.
How deluded do you have to be to think you're more bankable
Seriously,
than Dwayne
cutting
Johnson?
off your nose to spite your face. Eh?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
He should be fired from the series, and I'm surprised he doesn't have a agent who was like, what the hell are you doing?
Do any of
Yeah.
us think that he is not immediately replaceable with Chris Tucker?
I don't
Like,
know
you
even
could
know
re-
who Tyrese
You
Gibson
could
is.
replace Tyrese Gibson
Oh,
in
racist.
2. You could replace him with like Ryan Gosling. Like
yeah.
you could
Now
replace
it's
him
not
with
racist because we're whitewashing the character.
But like, you can replace Tyrese Gibson's character. All he does is just go like, I don't want to do that. Like that's all he does
Yeah,
in that
whereas,
movie.
yeah, The Rock's just I don't see how you can think that you can. Take
I
on
know
The
about
Rock.
Tyrese Gibson because of this,
Yeah, yeah.
not
Yeah.
because he's a
But
famous
but
person.
so The Rock did get officially attached to the spin-off, and it delayed the release of the next Fast and Furious movie.
Tyrese is furious,
Yeah.
but he's not fast.
No, because he's delayed. All right.
All right. Next one that came out, well, I think would appear on a lot of people's most disappointing lists of the year, but not mine. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, that's my most disappointing film of the year.
Hold on, just let me write it down. How many L's does Galaxy have?
One. Yeah.
Oh, this is not going to fit on the screen. It's not. It's
you go,
spoiler
Jimmy.
alert. It didn't fit on the screen.
All right. So, your Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. All right. Why was it most disappointing for you?
I just like the problem was there was nothing new added to what was offered in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't feel like, there were some new things added. None of them were as strong as anything that was in the first one.
5 post-credit scenes.
That's one of the problems. It's just like more of the cool stuff from the first one will make the second one better. I thought Kurt Russell's character was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Truly
Yeah,
unbelievable.
So good.
I thought it was amazing.
I see a
And
moment.
just the whole conceit of the girl who could make people feel a certain way, and I don't know, I legitimately can only remember when I think about that movie, all I can think of is 2 scenes. I just see where the characters were sitting in those 2 scenes. I can't even.
the
really
blocking was
remember.
just horrendous.
No, but it's just so immediately forgettable
what
for
is
me.
this,
And
the Fate of the
compared to how memorable and awesome the first one, and how you just came out of it being like, that was so different and cool, and then the second one you're like, oh, okay.
I really liked it. I think it was like, despite and I've said complaints about this before, but the fact that the threat is, oh my god, they're going to destroy the universe. And it's like, obviously they're not going to, but the stakes did somehow feel a little bit smaller because it was a family story, and it was one of those things that it got into like an hour into the film, you're like, there isn't a villain yet, and it was like. It was just obviously it was going to end up being Kurt Russell, spoilers for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So Kurt Russell ends up being the villain, but it's like it was this nice small story for me, and going on the road to Infinity War. I think it was quite nice to have that little sort of just nice film, and then later on, Spider-Man: Homecoming was just a nice film. I felt.
I've been on record saying I'm not a big fan of Guardians 1. To me, the fact, and I'm sure I've said this before on the podcast.
I think you said it the first one, yeah.
Yeah. Like the fact that that movie is about we've got to get Object X before the bad guys because Object X can save the world is like you're post Avengers Marvel. You can't be making movies about this anymore. You can't keep making movies about an Object X, yeah. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 wasn't about that. It was about a much more complex idea. Maybe it wasn't as charming as the great thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, is you're like, all these characters are great. All these characters are awesome and hilarious.
They
and
did
interesting.
flanderize a lot of the characters for the sake of jokes.
Yeah, and I get that, but for me, looking at it as a guy who looks at story a lot more than any other aspect of filmmaking, I actually came out of that writing. I wrote in my review, this is objectively better than the first one. It's just a more interesting story.
You're the only person that thinks that.
I know, and that's fine. I'm not super defensive about Guardians of the Galaxy.
But I remember walking out of that film, and there was a couple of guys talking, and one of them was like, "Oh, bro, Drax owned that movie, eh?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know about if he owned it, but definitely owned the punchlines." Wow. I was like,
I did enjoy
is this how
Drax,
normies
actually.
talk about films?
Normies.
Yeah, Drax, I think, was one of those they just kind of ruined the character to the sake of making him the funny one, and it kind of did. I can't really remember, but I think it kind of did that thing of the worst offender of is Age of Ultron is that just make every character the funny one. In Age of Ultron, every character is the quippy one.
Yeah, it's some problem with Justice League, as we'll discuss, which was also directed in part.
Well, I'll
by-
just throw out all my notes because we're not. We're just jumping straight to Justice League. Yeah, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Surprisingly, pretty good for me. Now, a film I only watched 2 days ago in preparation for this podcast. 3 days ago. Get Out.
Oh, okay.
Now, we'll have to do this one spoiler free anyway, because Jeremy hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
I thought he would have, which is why I watched
I know.
it.
I really, I have wanted to watch this all year.
Yeah,
Why did I
it's,
call you Richard?
it is one of the best films of the year. No
Yeah,
two
I
ways
don't
about
think,
it.
think anyone's questioning that.
Yeah.
No, Get Out is it's like exactly what it needs to be. It's a bit crazier than maybe I was expecting, but as long as you just go, yeah, I'm on board.
Is it basically like Stepford Wives, but for instead of sexism, for racism?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a pretty good way of putting it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's like in the least condescending way possible. It's like it's cool that like African American black people have this film that they can like see themselves in and get this representation, because we have it for every other film.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's cool that now they have this.
It's like what I said about Moonlight, but obviously it wasn't as alienating to you as Moonlight was to me.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't alienating, it just wasn't.
Well, I think
was other.
I was talking about this the other day. Is that like Get? I watched interviews with Jordan Peele and stuff like that, and he said one of the things that he loves about Get Out is that like white people watch it and go, "Oh my god, I've said that."
They go, oh yeah.
Because it's not. Yeah, it's an interesting take on racism, because
There's a scene at the party where, at like a party at this house, where everyone's talking to Chris, who's the main character, he's a black guy whose girlfriend is white, and he's at the white people party, and they're basically like it does a montage of all the conversations, like all the small talk he's having with all these old white people, and it always ends up being about golf or how they actually really like certain black artists, and like
and like is the sex better?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So yeah.
All right.
But this is a podcast about disappointing films.
So let's move past that. Alien Covenant. You saw it? You guys saw it?
This was actually one of my most disappointing of the year.
Right down.
We're
Yeah.
going to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Did you guys see it?
No.
So I really loved Prometheus, and I think I see this. I was like the only
How do you
one
spell
of the
Covenant?
Covenant.
A-N-T?
A&T, yeah. Okay. I think Prometheus, I recognize its flaws. I recognize its flaws, and it's beautiful. It's really, really, and it's beautifully made, and it was interesting. Like Prometheus, I thought offered some really interesting things, and I was really excited to see Alien Covenant because, again, I was excited about the set design. It was filmed in Milford Sound, the first film that's ever been filmed in Milford Sound in New Zealand, and they did this massive explosion, which was apparently one of those situations where they, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And so it was, again, stunningly beautiful. But they set up a whole bunch of really interesting stuff at the end of Prometheus, which I was like, and then at the end of Prometheus, David was like, we're going to go and find out what the engineers were doing when they were sent out this whole thing, blah, 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 blah. And then they just undercut. And because I went into Covenant being like, they're going to tell us all these things, we're going to find out all this stuff. And then it was just like, no, forget about that. David just destroys all of them. And
do you think there was an eradication of like, oh man, people hated Prometheus, we want to take the best elements of it and do our own?
I mean, and the thing is, the whole idea was that because these were prequel films, they instead of exploring more of the engineer backstory, they were like, let's just get straight to how the aliens from Alien were made, because essentially, like, it turns out that David, the android, ends up basically genetically engineering the aliens from Alien as the perfect killing machine. Like, he goes through this. He's like,
on paper, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, totally. But again, it's this difference between what you're expecting from the film and what it actually ended up delivering. Right. And I thought that would be the plotline of the third movie.
Right.
Which, I think as a trilogy that would have been interesting but then I think basically they just got scared about what was going on with Noomi Rapace's character, who I thought was fantastic, like Elizabeth, whatever, I think her name was Elizabeth. But then she's not even in this movie. It turns out that David killed her on the way to, in between the movies, David's killed her, and then when he arrives, he just like rains down the spores of the alien on this planet with all the engineers, and like all of them just get wiped out, and he's the only one left on the thing because he's not flesh and blood, so they don't want to kill him. So I mean, again, I think I'm saying this in a way that makes it sound like it's an interesting movie, but just the way
I might go see it.
I don't know. It just didn't. It was weirdly paced. characters did stupid things, like like they,
Right.
when hey, if you've got, it's literally like Stranger Things 2 spoilers, but it's like when, but like it's like when what's his name from Stranger Things finds the alien slug and he's like, I want to grow this, and he hides it from everyone. You're like, why are you doing that? You've literally spent an entire season running away from these things, and you find an alien being and you want to grow it in your room. Like, it's just characters who do stupid stuff like that.
Right,
that happens in Alien Covenant too many times, and you're like,
Yeah,
no,
I think
please.
Alien Covenant's one of those films that like I heard the word disappointed thrown around the most. Like not bad, just like it's just I wanted it to be good and it wasn't. But moving right along, another film I skipped over. But did you see a film called Colossal, Jeremy?
No.
Check it out. Colossal, I would recommend. It's a if you watch the trailer, like this looks hilarious, but it's actually a really dark drama about
I love
domestic
that.
abuse.
That's good.
But check out Colossal. Pirates of the Caribbean 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Oh, this is going to be a while to write out, but this is my most disappointing film of 2000.
How can you be
17.
disappointed by this?
Pirates of the
Surely you can just do POTC.
POTC 5, DMTNT.
Man, Dead
TNT, yeah.
Men Tell No Tales. Oh, that is too big for the screen.
All right. Anyway,
It looks ridiculous.
start talking about it.
No, look, I'm not an idiot. I know that Pirates of the Caribbean isn't like
It's a big claim, AJ.
it's all but the first one are pretty bad. But basically, I'm just like, it shouldn't be hard to make a good Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Well, it wasn't hard. They made one.
They
And it was
made
really
one,
good.
but it shouldn't be hard to make sequels. Shouldn't be hard to make sequels that usurp the first one. Because it's that what they got too tied down with Pirates of the Caribbean
Sparrow.
is not Jack Sparrow, although he is best as like playing off people and not being the hero. What they've got there is like what they got wrong is that they made 2 and 3 connected. Like you have to watch 2 to understand 3.
Yeah.
And then the 4th one just came out of nowhere. Everyone forgot about it. And then the 5th one, like they so clearly aren't trying with it.
So you think it should be more episodic rather than chronological?
You should think Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Like that's
they should all be their own adventures.
you should be able to watch 3 before 2.
Yeah.
And it not change your experience, in my opinion.
They wanted to make it a trilogy rather than episodes.
Yeah,
but it's
and
not
then
even a
after
trilogy. It's one and then a 2-parter.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like a trilogy. Oh, I guess Barbosa comes back at the end of 2.
Barbosa.
But I just and
where's
part of the
Michelle?
reason why this movie didn't work is because it should have worked 10 years ago, and it didn't then. And so they keep trying to reheat up this movie. And I don't know. I saw Javier Bardem attached. I was like, maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope that this.
I felt like that about another movie this year.
Maybe there's hope that this will like.
A New Hope, even.
I don't know. And I obviously. I looking at it, I wasn't I didn't think it was gonna be good, despite the fact that it was my most disappointing. I was most disappointed about it before it even came out. Basically. Before, like, because
I'm
I was
not
like,
mad, Disney. I'm just disappointed.
like, and Johnny Depp is just go away, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like, you don't care anymore.
Isn't it amazing how hot he was like 10 years ago when Jack Sparrow was happening?
Yeah.
And just how like no one wants to hear from him anymore at all. Like
He
even
plays-
even before the stuff about Amber Heard came out, everyone was just like, oh, just no.
Yeah. He basically plays Jack Sparrow like he's performing to a bunch of Make-A-Wish Foundation kids. Like, you know how he did that? How he appeared in character. That's what this feels like. It feels like he was like, oh, this is how to play Jack Sparrow.
He's not doing Jack Sparrow anymore. He's doing a performance of Jack
Yeah,
Sparrow.
Right, yeah, because it's become such a caricature.
And because he's too old.
yeah,
He's too old to do him the
Jack
way he
Sparrow
was.
would have died by now.
Terrible film. Painfully unfunny film.
Right.
They make so many jokes in it that you're like... Like, at one point, they refer to what's someone who... There's like a word... I shouldn't have brought this up because I can't remember the word. But it means someone who, like, studies herbs. And
Herbologist.
horticulturist.
Oh, right.
Horticulturalist. And they... What is horticulture? Horticulture's plants, right?
Plants,
Yeah, not just
and,
herbs.
And
yeah.
I think it's horticulture. And they all laugh because it's got the word whore in it. Like, that's the kind of
gosh.
stuff you're dealing with in this
wow.
movie.
All right, well, on to one of my most disappointing films of the year. My second most disappointing film, Baywatch.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, I haven't. And that's why I was so disappointed in it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, Baywatch was like, it was one that I was like, yeah, sweet, this should be amazing. This should be, you got the Rock, Zac Efron, and like a fat guy for the comedy. But like
we're great.
but like yeah, it was just boring. It's just a boring film. And The Rock's like, critics love it, like critics hate it, but the fans love it. It's like, nah, it's just like, even if you like try and meet it on its own terms, it's actually just boring. And that to me, that was the most offensive thing it could be.
Yeah,
like if it was just not funny, it's like, oh, I can, you know, turn off my brain and laugh at some of these jokes, but it's just like, it's just slow and just.
I have a friend who is my barometer for the Rock films because he's the biggest Rock fan. Like anything the Rock does, he's like, "Oh, it's so good."
Yeah.
And even he was like, "Oh, it just wasn't." And I was like, "Well, if you don't like it, I am not going to pay that money."
Like it could have been amazing, and like 21 Jump Street.
If Kevin Hart had been in the place where Zac Efron was,
Probably, yeah.
because Kevin Hart and the Rock, man, there's something about them. They're just so good together. They are the new Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
All right, on next up, same day as Baywatch. I don't know. I'd love to see the people who went to go see Baywatch instead, but Wonder Woman came out 1st of June. Probably, yeah, one of the biggest surprises of the year, I think, in terms of quality.
I loved it. It's
Yeah.
probably one of my top 5 superhero films.
Yeah, I thought
and
it
it's
was
from
incredible.
DC, who I want to fail just to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought I really enjoyed it. It was a good movie. I don't see why everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
I think because no one expected it to be good.
Well, I expected it to be good. Like
then you're
the
wrong.
number of like I fully expected that, you know, you have a female director who's, you know, has a pretty good reputation. You have Gal Gadot. I think you actually do pronounce it. Gadot, yeah. And you know, there was enough, you know, pressure to make this good because it was the first one that was, you know, that I expected that it to be at least a well-made movie, and it was a well-made movie, but I just think for the first female-led superhero movie, it followed exactly the same lines as any superhero origin story. And you know, that's good. I guess that's good. Like, you know, if you want it to fit within the pantheon of superhero movies, it was a very good one. But I just thought people reacted to it like it was an entirely new breed of superhero movie. And I'm like, it's not.
Okay, I don't think it is a new breed of superhero movie, but I think and I'm going to sound like such a elitist, like, chauvinistic asshole saying this, but
Be what you are.
there's the way that movie treats Wonder Woman as a character is very clearly from someone who is a woman, like in a good way, in a wonderful way. Like I watched a video essay on the sexy born yesterday trope. Like Lilu from The Fifth Element. She was born yesterday, but she's still like this sexualized love interest, even though she's a baby, you know? And Wonder Woman could have easily, like, she finds Chris Pine, they go to the real world.
She's wide-eyed and innocent.
But there's that scene, there's that awesome scene on the boat where he's like, somehow they get talking about sex.
No, she's like, oh, why don't you come sleep with me? And he's like, oh, no, I don't sleep with you. Like, she's like, why not? And he's like, and it's this awkward, like, back and forth. But when she's like, I know what sex is.
Yeah, great, good. Like, don't make this character completely
she's
oblivious.
world wise, and she doesn't need help.
Yes.
to defend herself against people who might take advantage.
She's not
of
an
it.
idiot, and that informs the actual love story that does take place, which is actually, in my opinion, one of the best love stories we've seen in a superhero film.
I mean, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. And like the like even just all the like the funny stuff, like when she first sees him naked in the pool, she's like, oh, are you a like average human male?
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, above average. But it's like, imagine like Chris Pine being your like reference for the entire human race. You'd be so disappointed. Like you go mainland, you're like, oh, okay.
What I did like about it, and this is where I just go like, oh, it wasn't all that, and then I'm like, yes, all these things were great. But what I did like about it was that it wasn't a false form of female empowerment. She goes into English society, and she's in Edwardian, I think, England. She does actually have to change her clothes to be not shocking in that society. And she doesn't wear the froofy, frilly thing, but she does still wear clothes that would be appropriate for a woman in that era. Like, they don't try to retcon society's, acceptance just to match our current day ideas of what's acceptable in society. I thought that was a good move for the film, in the same way that whole conversation about sex was.
I
it
think
was realistic.
that's another thing about talking about how it's good that it's done by a woman, is that like so often strong female characters are just men that are played by a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
And like people are like, oh my god, what a great character. It's like the fact that they're a woman isn't important. And whereas like Wonder Woman uses her femininity and uses the fact that she's a woman to
It's not a male form of strength; it's a female form of strength.
yeah, like
which is
like
really
the
great.
fact that she's a woman is important to the character and she's strong. Like sometimes in spite of her femininity, sometimes because of it, like it informs it and like really well. Whereas like there's in Elysium, Jodie Foster's character was a male character and they just got Jodie Foster to play her. And it's like
Yeah.
you just get this weird sort of
Yeah.
character. Yeah, so like to me, a strong female character should use the fact that they're a woman.
And I think it was really interesting that we had such a perfect parallel of what happens when you get women directing films about women and men, is the direct comparison between the costumes of the women on the island. What's the island? The name of the island?
Themyscira.
Themyscira.
Yeah. The women of Themyscira in
Themyscira,
like their costumes in Wonder Woman versus their costumes in Justice
Yeah.
League. And their costumes in Wonder
They
Woman
should
were
have talked
still-
about that.
were
Like,
still beautiful. Like the costumes
Yeah.
were really beautiful, but they were practical. They actually looked like armor and all this sort of stuff. And the costumes in Justice League looked similar. Like they had similar designs, but they were literally like a bra and like bikini bottoms with a skirt. And you're like, oh, that's what happens when men try to create badass woman warriors versus when a woman creates a badass woman warrior. And I actually find that one more compelling. Like I really do.
Next, the another cinematic universe tripped and fell before it could even start.
The Mummy.
The Mummy. I didn't see it.
Didn't see
Did
it.
you?
No,
AJ?
didn't bother.
I saw it. I wasn't that disappointed by it, but it is what it is.
Okay.
No comment.
Moving on. Then I guess I thought it would be one of your most disappointing of the year.
No,
You hated it though, didn't you?
no,
Oh, okay.
it's fine.
Cars 3. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's probably best Cars movie, maybe.
Yeah, it's like it's this weird thing where it does the same thing that like Winter Soldier does, is that it presumes you like the first one more. Like the Winter Soldier is all about like, oh my god, remember like how tight Bucky and Cap were, and you're like, which one's Bucky again? But like Cars 3 does smartly and ignores Cars 2.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been cool if they should have just called it like Cars and then a subtitle. So it's like you can have Cars and then Cars subtitle rather than Cars 1, Cars 2, Cars 3. But like Cars 3 is all about how much Lightning McQueen looked up to Doc Hudson.
Right.
And because he's just in the second one, he just died when they made Paul Newman just died when they made the second one. And they were like, we'll just ignore him. And then this one's all about him dealing with the loss of his mentor. And it presumes that you loved the first
invested in
card
that.
and got invested in that. And it's like it is a good movie for it. It's essentially Rocky 4. But yeah, I thought it was really good. It's a real good short before it as well. Good short from
Yeah,
Little Lou. Next film was Transformers 5: The Last Night.
I feel like we've talked enough
Yeah.
on this.
Jeremy, you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen any since the second one. No, the third one.
Yeah,
I will not see
For
another
AJ and I's
Transformers movie.
opinion, just go check out
Yeah.
our Transformers podcast. We watched that one and discussed it at length for about an hour.
I wasn't disappointed, but it's not very good.
I saw the trailer, the weird feminist trailer that they made about like the little girl. Did you see this one? The
Yeah,
post-apocalyptic
Yeah,
where
they're like,
following
yeah, I
the
fight
little
like
girl.
a girl, don't you?
And I was just like, this is weird. It's like it's like I expect there to be a product advertised at the end of it. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I always
this
thought it was
product
as well.
empowers me. And I'm just like, why
It's
is this
Transformers 5.
happening?
That character, worst part of the film. She is this like, this is gonna sound real weird, but this really like sexualized 12-year-old. Like every shot of her is like of her chest or her
Oh,
butt,
gosh,
like
no,
running
no more.
and
I
covered
don't-
in sweat, and she's in it for like the first 15 minutes, and she disappears until the last 10 minutes. It's a horrendous movie. Despicable Me 3, none of us saw, did we?
No.
All right, we'll skip right past that one. Spider-Man: Homecoming. That was one of your most anticipated of the year, AJ.
Yep.
Jeremy, you like
I
it?
really loved it.
Yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was really good. It's the Marvel has their villain problem that a lot of people complain about. Have you got spoilers up now? Yeah. Whereas I thought Michael Keaton, the Vulture, is kind of a generic Marvel villain, but Michael Keaton as his girlfriend's dad
Totally.
is the best Marvel villain.
And this is and the thing that I loved about this was it got back to the heart of what makes a good comic book thing, is that where the villains and the heroes exist in the same place. They exist in the same neighborhood. There's a personal relationship, and the duality of your civilian life and your superhero life intermingling with the civilian and villain life of the villain.
Yeah, and also it's cool because since the first, well, not really at all in the Marvel universe yet, is that like his alter ego is important. The fact, and like, which is such a thing of superhero movies, is that they have alter egos, but there hasn't really mattered for any of them until, which is why when they said, "Oh, we're doing Civil War," everyone was like, because Civil War is all of that in the comics is all about registering your identities with the government, but it's like none of them have secret identities.
Yeah. Well, because you have the Tony Stark problem, where like he's a really famous superhero who's just living large,
and he said he's Iron Man at the end of the first film.
Yeah, and everyone, and so all the superheroes kind of just take their lead from that because that was so successful as a Marvel film.
Yeah, and like Thor's a Norse god, Captain Rogers is like, it's known who he is.
The whole point of his life is to be a superhero.
Yeah,
right?
Bruce Banner, I guess. But then he kind of went off the
We
map.
don't know his internal life because he hasn't really had, like, Mark Ruffalo's version of him hasn't had his own movies, so we only really know the version of him that intersects with other superheroes.
Yeah, it showed Spider-Man in a way we haven't seen on film before, and it showed the MCU through eyes we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think the scene of Michael Keaton dropping Peter Parker at the dance and you can see like even the traffic lights reflection on his face changes as he works it out is like one of the best scenes of this year. I reckon.
It's just
so
amazing
good.
tension, and more tension than anything that happened in the second Avengers movie. Like,
hell yeah.
I was just like, this is what happens when you get characters that we actually care about.
Yeah.
Personally.
And because Michael Keaton's incredible, like
Yeah.
that, and like we should have all seen it coming. But when he goes to pick up his date and Michael Keaton opens the door, it was like
that was a twist.
I
That's
actually
right.
gasped.
Yeah.
I
And it was like,
gasped.
oh my god! And it was like, and because it's Michael Keaton, you're like, yes.
And I love that they use the race like thing to throw you
Yeah,
off.
sure,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like because
Yeah.
she's actually an African American, well, obviously mixed.
Yeah.
You know, between mother and father, and so you just because your mind just doesn't go there. Like, well, at least my mind doesn't. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's
great.
Jeremy's a racist mind.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, no, like that was
All our
amazing.
listeners
And then,
with mixed race parents are like, I worked it out.
yeah, Jeremy. No, it's not Jeremy. That whole scene when he's like in the kitchen and Michael Keaton's like there holding the knife, and it's just like everything from when he opens the door to when he gets to the dance was incredible. Some of the best stuff that MCU has done.
Okay, so
Another one
not
that-
very disappointing though.
No,
that's just
all right. So we'll move on then. War for the Planet of the Apes. Did you see that, Jeremy?
Nope.
Neither did
I
I.
love those films, but I haven't seen any of them in the cinema.
Neither.
By all accounts, it's really good.
I
There
haven't
was
even.
something else that came out at the same time as that, and I had to make a
Dunkirk.
call. Oh,
Dunkirk.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Dunkirk.
We're talking about Dunkirk.
Yeah.
now.
One of my favorite films of the year.
Yeah.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. If Interstellar is, it's like the
Are you baiting me?
it's like Christopher Nolan went into like that, you know, like the one of the season 3 episodes of Rick and Morty, which is probably one of my most disappointing television things of the year. But we might go into that in a different podcast. There's an episode of Rick and Morty where it like splits all their negative traits into one and all their positive traits into the other. It's like Christopher Nolan did that. One of them made Interstellar, the other one made Dunkirk.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like and Interstellar is everything that makes me roll my eyes about Christopher Nolan,
And I like both of
and
them.
Dunkirk is everything that I'm like, yes, this is why I like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and just like there's no like hammy dialogue in Dunkirk.
There's almost no dialogue in
Yeah,
Dunkirk.
it's great.
The only thing I don't like about Dunkirk is Christopher Nolan's insistence that you don't need to hear the dialogue, because that's just bad filmmaking. in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
What like what?
like Tom Hardy, you can't really understand
Yeah.
and things like
There
that.
were a few things about Dunkirk which I was just like, it's unusually sloppy from Christopher Nolan, like the timeline, not the timeline, but
I
like
loved the timeline thing.
yeah, the timeline thing was great,
yeah.
but no, at the very end with the Spitfire, like having no fuel, but having enough ability to like go out and then loop around and shoot down the planes.
Yeah.
Like it's like that, no, and then him for some reason going miles away to land. I was like, that doesn't make any sense, especially when we've just seen one of the fighters
like actually land safely in water. Like I just don't understand why he had to basically give himself up into a prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
Like it's little stuff like that I'm like, I just don't get it, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me because
there's
the
a-
whole feeling of it was so beautiful.
There's a guy at work who hates Dunkirk. He's like hated it. It was awful. Like I can't stand it because there wasn't enough boats and the Spitfire thing was silly.
Yeah.
Great movie though, but I hated it. It's awful. And so I've just anytime someone starts talking about Dunkirk and he's there, I'm just like, I just have to leave because I just can't have a discussion.
James Hope says Interstellar is the bomb.
Oh, that's,
Thank you, James Hope.
James
I am
is the
100%
guy-
with you.
I've had several arguments. Did I tell you about at work when there was a time when it was James? I was like talking about not liking Interstellar, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan." I was like, "Oh, really? Have you seen Insomnia? Have you seen Following?" And he was like, "No." And then like a month later, comes to it and is like, "So I watched those movies," and I was like, I forgot we had that conversation, but I was like, I was proud of him for like being able to.
Have very condescending of you.
Bring something new to an argument, like because not many people will do that. But I love the idea that he like went home, arms folded, sitting angrily on his couch, being like, "Yeah, I'll watch these movies." So next one, The Dark Tower. By all accounts, terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
No,
Annabelle 2,
No.
Baby Driver.
Oh, this is definitely on my list of most disappointing of the year.
Yeah, I would probably put it there too.
Yeah.
Actually.
Really?
Yeah, I did at the time. I was like, yeah, that was cool. But then the more I thought about it, like, and I'm not just cashing in on the drama of it, but like Kevin Spacey's pretty shit in that film. Like,
I feel like you are cashing on the drama.
no, I'm not. Okay, but I don't know. He was contrived. He was like
The bit where
cheesy.
he's like, "I just loved the balls on that kid," and you're like, "Ooh."
Or when at the end when he like helps them out and he's like, "I was in love once." It's like, who are you? What character are you playing? It's so weird.
That's not Kevin Spacey's fault though.
Yeah, but he didn't deliver the
thing
line.
that-
Kevin Spacey isn't like wasn't like, no, I want to at the end.
No,
I
but
should
Kevin
say I
Spacey in the
love
movie
this.
delivers every line like this. What do you
Was
think?
every
He's
line
really
like this.
he's really
But-
controlled and
but-
contained, and the cool thing about his character at the beginning is that you're like, he has this big inner life with all these motivations that he's not letting on, and he's like a really secretive character, and so is Baby also, and we spend a lot of the movie exploring why Baby is the way he is, but we don't explore at all the partnership between him and Kevin Spacey and why Kevin Spacey is the way he is. And so when Kevin Spacey becomes like the answer for how he gets away but then doesn't get away, like my biggest thing was that they basically started the movie out with this big structure of really beautiful moments where he's like walking along and like it's almost like a musical, right? He's like doing it basically a musical dance number, going to the laundry, going to get his coffee and all that sort of stuff, and it's really beautiful and super stylistic. And then they just give up on that whole idea.
Yeah,
Right.
it feels like
And then just moves into being a sort of very violent action movie, like
Yeah.
almost Tarantino-esque in terms of like it's daring you not to like the action.
I just felt like Baby Driver didn't deliver on what it promised.
No.
Yeah, for me, Baby Driver, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I wouldn't call it.
Like
overly
it came out
disappointing.
the same time as Dunkirk, and I had my money on Baby Driver. I was like, Baby Driver will blow Dunkirk.
Yeah,
out of the
same.
water.
And I think
doesn't even hold a candle. to Dunkirk.
I spoiled it. I was like having my dessert before my dinner because I saw Dunkirk first, and I was like, "There's no way this can be as good." Because they came out on the same day here.
Yeah.
And which are, like, with the release dates are different. But and I was like, Baby Driver, like it was enjoyable. I'm not rushing to see it again. Whereas Dunkirk, I'd quite happily watch again.
Yeah.
Next one. This probably might be on your most disappointing list. But Logan Lucky. Did you see this?
Oh, I saw the first half of it
I was not
loved it.
on a
prepared
plane,
to
and I
talk about
flipping
this.
loved the
I
first
thought
half
it was
of it,
so
and I really
good.
want to watch the rest of it. Can I watch it with you?
This was a funny experience for us.
We watched it, and afterwards,
Because when the first trailer came out, I didn't bother to watch it because I was like, whatever. But AJ was like, "Did you see this?" And he posted on Cult Pop's page,
yeah,
being
I was
like,
like, this looks great. Same thing with La La Land. Like, I just really thought I'd be into it, and then honestly, I think I maybe was having a bad day or something when I watched Logan Lucky because it just felt like nothing was connecting. Like all the
really?
there'd be like an answer to a question I didn't have,
Right.
Or there would be something would be left ambiguous,
Yeah.
but to me it was just like, what do you mean?
It was just one of those movies where everyone was having fun, and I
Yeah.
actually just really enjoyed having fun with
so
them.
for me, like AJ's complaints are just like a lack of knowledge of
just
the
go,
language
yeah,
of heist films.
Yeah, you just go like, yeah, but that's not what it's about.
Yeah, well, like for
I
me,
just, yeah, no, I agree.
like-
I don't watch enough heist films to
because he's
be on
like,
board with it.
at the end when everything ends
yeah.
up okay, it's like, no, but we weren't told this. Like the main character didn't tell us he was doing this. It's like, yeah, because it's a heist movie and that's how they work.
And that's what I loved about it was that again, it's that post-Trump thing where it's just like take the elites out of it, take Ocean's 11, but remove the fact that they've all got access to huge amounts of money and they can basically do anything they want to do, and basically get a whole bunch of people who are desperate, down on their luck, and really need this to go off because otherwise he's literally going to lose his family or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you kind of raise the personal stakes, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it, and I remember like it was like off the table to talk about it for a while because it was like AJ actually just felt so bad that he didn't like it.
I felt horrible. I felt sad.
empty.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you always feel sad.
We're going to take a little break. Yes, we haven't discussed this, but I'm going to pause the stream for a second.
All right.
We'll be back.
They just mute the audio or something.
Yeah. Turning image off.
All right. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
All right. And then on 7th of September...
There's an elephant that's left the room. Apologies to anyone who was watching because of Jeremy. He's called to an emergency and has to leave. So we're going to be carrying the rest of this podcast with a... is there like a teddy bear or something we can do?
It's your house.
Oh, I know it's my house, but... Okay. Nope.
Okay, so we know the audio wasn't there.
Yeah, we know the audio wasn't on.
James.
Yeah, okay, I'm a bit befuddled, but that's okay.
All right. Yeah, It. What did you think of it?
What are you talking about?
The movie.
It.
It Chapter 1.
I loved it. I don't
Yeah.
really have much to say about it, but it was
Yeah, I
good.
thought it was amazing. And it was probably one of my biggest surprises because probably if you listen back to the anticipated one, I'm sure I say I'm not going to see it.
Yeah, you were like, no, I don't do scary movies.
Yeah. And then I've got 2 horror movies on my top 5 of the year.
There you go.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yep.
Brilliant. Can't wait for the second one.
Yeah, man. It was good. I liked that. It wasn't even that scary, to be honest. Like, it was.
Yeah,
it
a lot
was
of people
more-
say it's the scariest movie they've ever seen, but nah.
It was. I don't know if this is disappointment, but it wasn't what I expected it to be. But I still really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I made a last minute decision to go see it. Actually, just a week before that, we had my most disappointing film of the year, Death Note on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Do we want to talk about this?
I don't know how much there is to say about it because you're not invested.
No, I'm invested. Yeah, I watched it with you. I thought it was terrible.
You're just like, you couldn't even finish it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I love Death Note, the anime. I think it's incredible. I'm not a fan of anime, and it's like one of the best TV shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And this is another like film that I was really optimistic for. Up until like people are like, oh, it's going to be a bad adaptation because it's and Adam Wingard, who directed it, who's like quite a good horror director, said it's not an adaptation, it's an interpretation. So he read the manga, watched the anime, and thought, this is what I can do of an American student finding a Death Note.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, yeah, like that's the way to do it. Don't try and bog yourself down hitting the same story beats because it's such a dense story and it's such a good story. And then people are like, oh, apparently it's a real bad adaptation, all this stuff, and it's like, just get over it. And then watch the movie, and not only is it a terrible adaptation, but it's an awful movie.
It felt Last Airbender bad.
Yeah, it is. It's like I haven't seen Last Airbender, but I'm sure this is worse.
Like this, yeah. I've seen both. Well, I finished one of them.
Yeah.
But no, I just thought it felt so rushed. From what little I know of the anime, like I was like, how are we here already? Like it just sped through.
It's so.
And I
bad.
guess that's what happens when
And
you try and adapt a TV series into a feature length.
Like the interpretation element, it's like one of the coolest things about the original is that the main character, Light, is really smart and he's really attractive as well. It's like it's part of his character is he's like this attractive, intelligent student who's secretly like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one he's like this downtrodden, fucking pug-faced, loser.
Yeah.
And then he gets this Death Note and he's like a school shooter kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's not about like cleansing the world of evil. It's about, oh, this guy picked on me, so I'm going to decapitate him. And then this girl who's never spoken to him goes, he's like in love with her. And he's like, oh, check out, I got this Death Note, it actually works. Whereas like Light would never do that. And that's not even like I want to get away from like talking about
the gatekeeper of Death Note.
Yeah. But like the fact that it's just like, that's a stupid character. Like the decision of the filmmaker to make this your main character is just dumb. Like originally when the American rights were first, Zac Efron was attached.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he should be. I don't know that he could play. I mean, like,
well, he's playing Ted Bundy.
But like, see how he goes playing this intelligent, calculating character because he's just made a name for himself playing frat boys. But yeah, Death Note, and it's one of those things that will never get a good American Death Note movie now.
Yeah.
Because they've wasted their one opportunity. They're making a sequel, and also the fact that like. Willem Dafoe as Ryuk is like some of the best casting of all time, but it's just wasted on this horrendous movie.
Yeah. We got some comments that I'll read out. James says Chappie is the movie that still disappoints me. Okay. Kieran says It is his top of 2017. James says it's got to be Dunkirk. And
what did Kieran say to that?
Kieran said it was just brilliant, scary, but still had a brilliant story. They're just talking to each other.
No. He said, "Do you see the original TV series? He could be talking to us."
Oh, did I? No, I haven't seen the original TV series of either It or Death Note.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original It.
Kieran says the anime is legit brilliant, and James says Mother. Has anyone seen Mother? Heard it was a bit meh. So
actually, Mother is the next film we're talking about.
Hey, all right, let's talk about Mother. Mother is Mother. Oh, it's like a lowercase
M and an exclamation mark.
Mother is was disappointing in a way, then like amazing in a way, and it was like, man, I do not know. I was like, we talked about this earlier. Was that on pod? Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, I don't care about it. It doesn't look interesting to me. I got dragged to it basically.
Yeah.
And then was like, wow, that's the most like visceral, most interesting experience that I've had watching this movie for in a long time. So I don't know. I thought it was good. I mean, I don't know if we need to really go into spoilers, but it was good. I liked it.
So, yeah, I have no interest in seeing it, knowing the like spoiler of it.
Yeah.
I had no interest beforehand, and now I've got the same amount of interest. Emoji Movie, neither of us saw, but I wanted it to be. I was so hoping this would be good, just to shut everyone up, but apparently it wasn't. No. So, but then I feel like this is what we're kind of like film criticism has gotten to, and it's kind of dumb. Is that like people wrote their Emoji Movie reviews before the film came out.
Yeah.
They thought of this hilarious hyperbole about how it's like sticking cactuses in your eyes and like, oh, I'm going to hold into this one for the Emoji Movie. And it's like, so these critics just get like a film review of a bad movie is now just paragraphs of like hilarious similes and hyperboles. And it started with like Roger Ebert's review of European Gigolo. Apparently, that's like the quintessential bad review.
Yeah.
And now everyone just thinks that they can do that, and it's like, it's these films. They're just movies. Who cares?
Yeah.
Same thing. Then like with Daddy's Home 2, I talked about on that podcast a little bit. I think I did. About like people are just hating on this movie because they decided to beforehand, but it's like, yeah, it's not. It's not like below a 5.
No.
In terms of movies.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah. So,
but that being said,
by all fans, I'm sure Emoji Movie was actually terrible. I didn't see this one. I don't think you did either. But Captain Underpants.
No, I didn't see it.
Apparently, it's pretty good. Yeah. I say I was a fan of the books, but I don't know that I even was. I just like they were there.
Yeah.
Flatliners.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it. Apparently, it was terrible. Apparently, Flatliners spoilers. I don't know if it's worth
No,
putting up.
I haven't put it up.
If you want to see Flatliners, then you deserve to have it spoiled. But apparently, Ellen Page's character dies halfway through.
Yeah,
and she's like the main character.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, I read about that.
But then, like the whole film was about them dying and bringing themselves back. Now here's an interesting one, and this is like Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is probably one that we might have to get into spoiler territory, but in terms of quality and like what I wanted this to be versus what it was, it's probably one of the most disappointing films, if not the most disappointing film of the year, because it's so much worse than the first one. But in terms of enjoyment, I enjoyed it equally. It's still just as fun. Again, it's a film I can't recommend. I can't be like, oh my god, check out The Golden Circle, it's just as good, because it's not. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Kingsman 1. I thought it was kind of cheesy. And I initially watching Kingsman: The Golden Circle, I was like, yeah, this is real fun. Like, I kind of liked this more. And then just was berated by a bunch of people telling me why it's not as good. So I feel like I'm not too passionate about it, so I don't want to stand up for it. But
yeah, it's one of a few films this year that you can tell me all the reasons it's bad, and I'll be like, yep, you're right about every single one of those.
Yeah.
Or like all the reasons, the other movies have all the reasons they're good, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So Kingsman: The Golden Circle, I'm just like, it's a guilty, like it feels like a guilty pleasure for me, because I'm like, I can't defend it. I just really enjoyed it.
I don't know if I'll see it again or anything. But.
Yeah, for me, it's like the kind of film I could put on again. But it did have a weird thing at the end, getting to spoiler territory, that they kill the bad guy by shoving him in a meat grinder, which is like, you're just as bad as the...
Yeah, it was like the assistant dying in Jurassic World.
Yeah, I mean, like,
kind of
it was kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And it's just they just used what they had available to them.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's such a visceral,
it's such a I don't want a hero who's okay with doing that.
Yeah. It's that kind of like, but I mean, Kingsman is made on ultraviolence.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of the thing of it. All right, after that, and you might want to put spoilers up for this.
I hope it's not a long title.
Blade Runner 2049.
Oh. I thought this was the best movie of the year.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there's not much more to be said about it. It's actually just incredible.
Yeah. No, I loved it. We saw Blade Runner. Had you seen it already?
Yeah, I had seen it before.
I saw it for the first time a few days before we saw Blade Runner.
Yeah, in the
2049.
cinema as well.
Yeah. And like, it is. I mean, you know, I made a video on this on Cult Pop Show. Like, it's the first time this has happened. It's the first time that someone's gone, oh, let's make a cashing in on nostalgia sequel that is you know to cash in on nostalgia, but it's actually just as good as it could have been. You know?
Yeah, well, like the difference is that like this is like someone actually came up with a story that needed to be told 30 years later.
Yeah.
Whereas like Jurassic World is like, oh no, actually to be fair, Jurassic World is a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
But like a lot of those sequels, that it's like, why did this like Men in Black 3?
Yeah.
So why does this need to be 13 years later or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Whereas like Blade Runner 2049 is about the fact that it's been a while.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's incredible. And it's yeah. I don't want to. There's something I want to say about it, but it's spoilers for
I've
like
got spoilers
other movies.
up.
No, it's spoilers for other movies.
Okay.
But yeah, everything about it is just the atmosphere is brilliant. It's a film that I'm so glad I saw in the cinema, but I hated the fact like it didn't do very well at the box office, but the fact that like people were bragging that like people walked out of their screening, and it's like, it's not like an intelligence test.
Yeah.
It's just a good movie. It's quite long. It's quite slow.
Yeah.
That's not for everyone. It doesn't mean you're smarter than someone
agreed.
for not enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it's
Kieran says, "Is there a dog or a cat in the room? Either way, get them on the stream." There is a dog and a cat. Well, there's two cats running around. here.
There's not a dog,
No, there's not a dog. There's a couple cats running around that I tried to close doors to make sure they didn't come
but
in.
there's no door to this room.
Yeah.
So didn't try very hard.
No. This is my parents' house. This
If you'd
is
really
my
tried,
house.
you would have installed a door.
Yeah, that's true. I should have
Um,
installed a door.
You should have. There's no two
No,
ways
there's
about
not.
it.
That's it.
Yeah. So Blade Runner 2049, best film of the year.
Yep.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah,
Do we make
yeah.
it some kind of announcement about that, or?
I don't know. I thought you'd have like a graphic to put up something. Yeah. So Blade Runner 2049, certified fresh. And then we had on the 13th of October, Friday the 13th, Part 13,
Oh, cool.
which got shelved, so
Oh,
we don't
no.
need to talk about it.
Oh no.
Then it feels weird. No, actually, wait. No, I was going to say. Never mind. November 3rd, Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, let's talk about Thor Ragnarok. I thought this was the best of the 3 Marvel films we got this year.
Yep.
I thought it's probably the first Marvel film I've seen since Iron Man 3 that really felt like a director's voice was being heard and considered. I guess maybe Guardians of the Galaxy, but
But you just didn't like the voice.
yeah, I don't know. I thought I'm one of the advocates that exists out there for Iron Man 3, just because it's probably the most challenging Marvel has been in terms of what they did with characters. But Thor Ragnarok, man, that was I loved it. It was so fun to see like the worst Avenger, you know, critically the worst Avenger, now have one of the best films in the series. Like,
Yeah.
they did everything. Taika Waititi did everything right with that character by making him like, you know, kind of more quippy and funny than anything else.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know. I'm of two minds about it. Yeah. I don't know. The Tiger train's kind of leaving the station for me a little bit.
oh, really?
Like, I love him and I love a lot of his work, but there's sometimes where I'm just like, I wish you'd just take something a little bit more seriously. Like you watch interviews with him and it's like, oh man, it's gonna be so cool to actually like get an insight on his thing, and he just won't stop making jokes, and it's like, I'd actually kind of just rather hear like an
guess so.
insight. But and the fact that Kathleen Kennedy said I would love to have him do a Star Wars film, I'm like, you are so stupid if you
Yeah.
think that's a good idea.
No.
The fact that you fired Lord and Miller,
Yeah.
and like, where the hell do you think your universe is going if you think that Taika's a good idea?
Yeah, but for the record, he should do a Boba Fett movie and cast Julian Dennison as Boba Fett. That'd be good.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. That's mean.
No, oh yeah, Taika doing a Jar Jar movie. That's a good idea. That's actually a good idea.
Finally, Jar Jar Binks is being redeemed.
Well, he could. I reckon he could do it.
If anyone could.
And then not long after Thor Ragnarok, we had another superhero movie, Justice League.
Okay, so would you say you were disappointed by Justice League?
Yes.
You were.
Yeah, it's one of my most disappointing movies. Of the
I
year.
wouldn't say I was disappointed by it.
Um,
I'd say it's terrible, but I wasn't.
well, I think
disappointed by it.
you want the films to be terrible. I want them to be good.
I wanted it to be good. I wanted Wonder Woman to be.
What? No, but you said earlier,
Right,
an
right.
hour ago that you wanted it to be bad. You're like, you're like you said talking about Wonder
No,
Woman. that
sorry,
you're like,
I mixed up my words.
that you like, you want to see these films be bad just for.
Just see what happens.
But yeah, also, sorry, say about Thor Ragnarok is that like just quickly an aside about it is that I walked out of Thor Ragnarok thinking I feel this about a lot of Marvel movies now is that like I'm just whelmed by them. I'm not over or underwhelmed. I'm just like I have such high expectations for them now because I'm fully in the Marvel universe, but I'm just like. Yep, that's as good. That was a 10 out of 10, and I wanted a 10 out of 10, and I was expecting it, and I got it. So I walk out of them with this kind of like almost empty feeling, but it's just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Whereas
Justice League, you go in with an empty feeling, you come out somehow less empty, or more empty, whatever's worse.
Yeah, Justice League. I would have loved Justice League to be good, but and I like. There's a lot of fans that are idiots that are saying, "Give us the Zack Snyder cut," but there is no Zack Snyder cut.
Why would you Did you see Batman v Superman? Like, why would you want a Zack Snyder cut? He's clearly not capable of.
No, well, I mean, I said this on a podcast ages ago, but it's like, regardless of what you think of Joss Whedon or Zack Snyder, I'd rather see one of them do the entire film.
Yeah, true.
And so. Which is why I get like, I would like a Zack Snyder cut, but I know there isn't one.
Yeah.
And you'd have to get Zack Snyder to come in and do his own reshoots, and and that's not going to happen. So leave it alone.
Look, it was probably worse. It's probably worse than Batman v Superman.
Yeah, what I've said is that Justice League, and this is what's disappointing for me, is that Justice League I'd put on par with Batman v Superman, if not for the fact that there's no cool scenes in Justice League. Like, in such an empty, vapid film as the Justice League, you long for the warehouse scene from Batman v Superman, or the actual fight in front of Batman v Superman, which is cool up until the Martha part. But like, there's nothing in Justice League that I'm like, oh, that's a cool visual image, or like this is like just a badass fight scene. It's like, just give me one cool thing.
And also, Batman v Superman at least had a cool philosophy. Like, I really liked that it was like, what happens when a Superman is part of society, the separation between God and man. And Justice League, what was that about thematically? Like, I don't know. I could tell, like, maybe if anything, it was a little too thick in Batman v Superman. And like, you can so see Joss Whedon coming in and trying to make, as you said, every character the funny one. And usually I'm more in support of that than I'm not in support of that. Like, I love comedy where it doesn't belong a lot of the times. Yeah. But Batman fundamentally is not a funny character. Like, that's what Batman is. He's dark, he's brooding to a fault, to the point where people make fun of him for it. And to make him one who's doling out the quips.
Not like you.
Oh my gosh. I was like, this is a betrayal of Batman.
Yeah.
Like, how's he going to go up against...
It's a bat trail.
Yeah, how's he going to go up against the Joker if they're both
funny
making jokes? Yeah. Josh Thompson says, whelmed. I love it. And Kieran says, okay, Justice League was disappointing. As a huge fan of DC, I was disappointed in the story, the villain, the world, and the characters could have been so much better. I mean, I don't know if it could have been, but
yeah,
I respect the
what did James
sadness.
say about that?
He said, oh yeah, Star Wars, that's right. Those are going to win most disappointing every year. What a hot take.
James hated The Force Awakens.
Wow.
So, but we'll get to The Force Awakens and TLJ. So, next, here's where my notes get real messy. Murder on the Orient Express, I didn't see, but I wanted to, but by all accounts, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
God Particle, one of my most anticipated for this year, didn't come out this year. It's still scheduled for February, but there's no trailer or anything like that, which is in keeping with the Cloverfield tradition. Do you know what's weird?
What?
There were no major releases between Justice League and Star Wars. It feels like there would have been.
No, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, all right. We're
talking
here.
about Star Wars?
Oh, no, wait, no. We have got... There is another major release that I wrote down here. Disaster Artist.
Oh, of course. Yep, what did you think of that?
Brilliant. One of my favourite films of the year.
Yeah.
If I could bottle up the way that film makes me feel, and I would become addicted to it.
Yep. out of the films I've seen this year, that's the one I want to win Best Picture at the Oscars. It won't. Oh man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about filmmaking.
It is
so-
about. That's all it's got though. Like in terms of what wins Best Picture. The disaster. I saw The Room for the first time, and then 20 minutes later went to The Disaster Artist. I would highly recommend that. That is such a strange.
Don't watch
and-
it alone though.
and yeah, I watched it alone as well. That was terrible. But no, I mean that movie hinged off how well James Franco could play Tommy Wiseau.
Well, for me, it's not even the fact that he plays Tommy well. It's that he turns Tommy into like a character.
Yeah.
Like, because if he just played Tommy Wiseau, you'd be like, this isn't real. This is just stupid.
Yeah.
But the fact that he does makes him enough of a human, that it works.
And not a lot of people have said this in their reviews, but I actually thought that Dave Franco did a great job, like bringing up the rear of being like the sympathetic hook of the film.
Yeah.
like him as Greg
Sestero, yeah.
Greg Sestero was like, yeah, I think he should be nominated for Best Supporting. He shouldn't win it maybe, but I think he should be nominated. I legitimately think James Franco might win Best Actor for Best. for Tommy Wiseau.
You're wrong. But
You reckon?
yeah, I don't even know if he'd be nominated for Best Actor.
Oh,
He's
shit,
really a
this is
supporting
like
actor.
Best Movie of the Year.
Yeah, no, but there's some really good performances this year.
That's
But
true.
any other year possibly, but it's quite a tight race for
Right.
best actor. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Put up the spoiler thing.
We
we're
weren't
gonna need
talking about spoilers for Star Wars, will we?
it. This is actually turn this off if you haven't seen Star Wars because this is going to get into real. This is probably going to be the next like half hour, 40 minutes of your life is listening to us talk about Star Wars.
Which is a shame because Jeremy had.
Jeremy had some very strong opinions on it.
Yeah, we're good.
I don't know. You and I have already spoken about this at such length.
What's the term? Ad nauseum.
Yeah, ad infinitum.
Look, okay.
Okay, but what starting off, where are we at? Jeremy hated it.
Jeremy, it's annoying that he's gone because we each represented at like a different point on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because Jeremy hated it, you were kind of about it,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's the best Star Wars movie we've seen since Empire.
Yeah.
So where do we go from this? And like, what's great is like, unlike like when we first saw it, and I turned to you and I said, "What'd you think?" And you were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I loved it." And you said to me, "You remember when you saw Logan Lucky and you felt like you weren't on the right train for it?" And
I said, you know, how you felt empty inside
Yeah,
because you felt like you're the only person, like that
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you for not
Yeah.
liking it.
And then and I was like, right, okay, that's interesting. And then like audio, like critic score was like amazing. Then audience
Every
score,
review was like, it's the best
Yeah.
movie.
then audience score was very, very middling. And what's great though is like I feel like we're both supported by like a net of our opinions here. You know, like with Logan Lucky, every review I saw of that was positive. I was like, I feel horrible. Like I don't want to talk about this with people because I think I might just be wrong. Like it's not an
That's how I
opinion
felt
thing.
after Star Wars because it was just you saying that's the best blockbuster I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then like other people we ran into were like, yeah, it was amazing, right? And I was like, I actually just can't ever speak to anyone about this because
yeah.
I'm wrong.
I know.
And then I saw all the like people respond to it, but my opinion of The Last Jedi, and this is like when we'll get into like actual spoilers, is like, and I said this to you the other night, and I thought that was like finally got my like opinion out, is that like I love The Force Awakens. To me, it's the most rewatchable Star Wars film. If someone was like, let's put on a Star Wars movie, I would want to watch The Force Awakens again anytime. But you can come up to me and be like, The Force Awakens is bad for these 5 reasons, and I'll probably agree with you on all of them. I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like Rey's a Mary Sue, whatever. It's a rehash of A New Hope, whatever. But to me, it was just executed so well. It's so much fun. Whereas The Last Jedi, any complaints I have, you can explain to me why I'm wrong, and I'll be like, yeah, they just weren't executed well. So to me, The Force Awakens is bad ideas executed perfectly. The Last Jedi is great ideas executed poorly. Like, getting to spoilers now. This is like a 100% final warning for spoilers. So
Stop watching.
there's a scene where Carrie Fisher's character, Princess Leia, General Leia, I need to explain that, appears to have died.
Mm-hmm.
She's floating in the vacuum of space, and then this is 15-20 minutes into the film, and she wakes up and uses the Force to guide herself back to the spaceship. Now, you can interpret this and say it's graceful, it's showing how powerful she is with the Force, it's giving us new things about the Force. I'm like, yep, great ideas. It just looks so silly.
It's the dumbest looking thing I've ever seen. Like, it looks so stupid, and yeah, it's like if Ryan Johnson was like, AJ, my best friend, here's the script, and he's like, and so then you see Leia floating in space, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so heartbreaking, because she died in real life, dude, what are you doing? And then she like wakes up and you're like, what? And then she uses the Force to bring herself back to the ship. I'd be like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then seeing it in practice is like, like, there are better ways to show that this happened.
Just everything about that was so silly. And so the other, like, going through the film, the complaints again. So the Canto Bight, which is the casino subplot. So you have Rose and Finn, and Rose is another example of this. Is that, like, I found her character horrible. I was like, nothing about her character made sense to me or was enjoyable in any way. And people say there's like the diversity kind of issue of like having an Asian main character and this, and she's down, and by all accounts the actress seems lovely, but her character is just like that whole, oh man, I've never seen action, I've always just been working down here on the pipes, and now I'm in love with you, Finn, and let's go on this adventure together, and we're all good at flying spaceships and stuff like that. And then we get this heavy-handed environmental message, which is like, it's good in some cases to give your film a message, and then having a scene of having a subplot be your characters go on this mission and fail, and it's your character's own hubris that ends, kills a bunch of people. That's a great idea. I'm so on board with that idea, but I just didn't enjoy Canto Bight, I thought. And so I'm like, well then, I got this heavy-handed environmental message, like the whole conflict is that they parked in the wrong place, but we didn't see them park. It's just we get halfway through the scene and then we're told, they parked on the beach and they shouldn't have parked there.
Yeah, actually, I saw it recently. You do see them on the beach.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not like they parked on the beach. It's like you see the ship on the beach, then pan over.
But it's not like we didn't see them be like, we have to hide, let's park it here.
Yeah, they don't say we have to hide, we have to park it on the beach.
Yeah, so and to have our to have a decision that our characters made off screen be the source of conflict is weird. But so by the time you get back, I'm like, well, you wasted my time then, rather than being like, oh my god, that's so heartbreaking that they ruined it. And then you've got Holdo was another character I didn't enjoy, and it leads into the whole hubris thing. That's a great lesson for Poe to learn, but you just have this character. It's like it's like Ice Cube in Fist Fight. It's like you're actually just mentally deranged if this is how you think that you should act.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good lesson for Poe to learn, and we'll see that might see the implications of that in episode 9. But it was executed poorly. Not sure how I feel about Projection Luke. Not sure how I feel about the interpretation of Luke, and the milk scene was real weird. But there's some really, really good stuff in it. The kamikaze lightspeed scene is one of the best visual images I've ever seen in a film, and that's the only reason I'm going again tonight.
Yeah.
To see the film. The decisions they made with Snoke, brilliant. The decisions they made with Rey's parents, brilliant. But everything around it just wasn't quite there for me.
No, I get it. And I guess before I go into my... I'll just read out a comment. James Hope says, Last Jedi... What does he sound like?
Not like that.
What's his accent?
It's just Kiwi.
Okay. I want to do a voice.
We'll do a voice.
Okay. The Last Jedi is a movie as average as... As a movie as average as hell. As a Star Wars movie, it doesn't do anything particularly wrong, but the story is dumb as hell.
Yeah, I didn't like that. It's just like the next day, and like for Star Wars movies that are supposed to be big sweeping epics, that it's just like. And meanwhile,
yeah. Look, okay. Here's my not really rebuttal, because I agree with a lot of your stuff. Basically, I when I first saw it, I was so enamored with so much of the Rey, Luke, Kylo storyline, which in my opinion is probably the best storyline in any Star Wars film, or at least the most interesting we've seen in a long time. That I was like when I was watching it, when Canto Bight was happening, I was like, this looks like it's out of a prequel. That's weird. And then when they fail, I was like, okay, well that was for nothing. Then that's strange. But then it would just go back to the Rey storyline, and of course that's objectively, well, you could be like, well, that's an imperfect way to make a film, and it is, and I feel the same way as you do, man. I'm just the opposite. Like,
yeah, well, it's interesting because you have said to me that like this philosophy that a great film is a film with like 3 good scenes and no bad ones.
Yeah,
and to me, the Last Jedi has maybe 2, maybe 3 good scenes and 18 bad ones.
Right, I don't know what to tell you.
And so it's the same thing with with Logan, is that you for Logan, you're like, yeah, it had this one blemish that annoyed me, and so the film is imperfect. And I'm like, yeah, I can forgive that because of this. But The Last Jedi, it's just like, it's so overwhelmingly either mediocre or bad that the good can't shine through.
The thing about the Logan comparison, to me, X-24 and Logan is a fundamental pillar of that story.
Yeah.
So for me, that fundamental pillar holding up the story is rotten. To retool that story to take that out would take a lot more work. To me, I examine the things I loved about The Last Jedi, and then I examine things I don't like about it. And I don't know, I didn't like how Canto Bight looked. I thought, all the new characters are relatively superfluous. And the fact that Holdo probably should have just told Poe what was happening to avoid all that. And but even that's not bad writing, that's just a character flaw, right? Then I think of all the stuff I like, and it's the scene in the throne room where you find out that not only is Snoke deliciously irrelevant and so not important to the story, and you find that speech where Kylo basically is like, let the past die, you're still holding on to the past, and the passion in his voice and the anger to which he echoes my feelings about The Force Awakens being samey and being safe. And to be honest, I don't think we're going to go anywhere but down from here with Star Wars. I don't trust J.J. Abrams to deliver a film that honors the direction that... I'll get to that in a second. But basically, what I love about it are fundamental building blocks. What I don't like about it is things like Leia looked dumb in space.
Alright, yeah. I get that. Yeah, I guess for me, I just
I think...
maybe I think I saw it coming more than you did then. That I was like, yeah, I hope that Rey's parents are nobody. I hope that Snoke is just a new character and who cares. So when that happened, I was like, cool, they did what I wanted. And I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't yes, this is what films are supposed to be. And so I was like, yeah, cool. And then that whole you're holding on to the past thing, yeah, that's cool. But I think you got the biggest stiffy I've ever seen you have for it. And so it's
you've seen a lot of them.
But they yeah, it's not, yeah, to me it's an entire house. You built a house out of mud and you have one brick in it. If we're using the building metaphor, it's it's gonna rain and all this is gonna wash away, but you're gonna have this one really solid gold brick.
I would say that's more an example of Logan, not to that extreme, because there's more good in Logan than there is bad. But to me, it's you've got a house that's really well built, but one of your flatmates is an asshole. That's what it's like. That to me, it's just there's stuff I don't like in it. There's stuff that I think is stupid in it. And you go and look at the difference. It's just the difference between J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson as a director is that J.J. Abrams, and across all of their individual filmographies, they have made films or episodes of TV shows or helmed TV shows that are either really solid, tight. There's no air coming out of that balloon, but it's yep, cool. Or it's oh, that was really impactful and powerful in so many places, but there were a lot of things that weren't perfect for me. That's I could say that about any J.J. Abrams movie, about the balloon thing, and I could say that it wasn't perfect for me for every single Rian Johnson thing I've seen.
Really, even Ozymandias?
Maybe not Ozymandias. Maybe that's his
out of their entire everything they've ever had their hands on. Ozymandias, the episode of Breaking Bad, is the best one.
Yeah,
out of
I agree.
Either director's filmography, but I think what's one of the things that gets me so like wound up about The Last Jedi as well is that I hate that it feels like my intelligence is being tested because I don't like this movie. That like every critic that seems to like this movie are saying like you just don't understand film if you didn't like the Leia thing, or like or that like you're holding on to the past. It's like, yeah, they took so many risks, you should be able to forgive all the other ones. But it's like, as a movie, a 2.5 hour movie, I should be able to sit there and enjoy most of it.
It is too long. That's part of the
so
problem with it.
like I hate that like all the critics seem to be like, yeah, no, well, it's too highbrow for you. But it's like, it's a 2.5 hour movie. No matter what it is, if you're spending 2.5 hours of your life doing something, for it to be enjoyable, most of it should be enjoyable. And like, I'm sorry if that means I'm just a dumb film goer who wants to go to the movie and just turn my brain off. But like, I should be able to enjoy most of my experience.
I don't know if I have had that same experience, and I've read a lot of the same stuff and watched all the same reviews as you. But what I will say is that I hold no superiority or ill will towards people who didn't like this movie, unless they're being a dick about it. Then I'll be like, okay, well, whatever. Why are we even talking about this?
Yeah.
Like I understand and I sympathize a lot with people who didn't like it. It's just, for me, like the main problem with doing more Star Wars movies is that they're trying to manufacture what the originals did by accident. They're trying to keep you close, but then make something good out of something you've seen before. And The Force Awakens is fine. Like I really like The Force Awakens. I'll say that. But there are no standouts to me in The Force Awakens. There's nothing about The Force Awakens that I hadn't seen in Star Wars before. There's nothing about The Force Awakens that really, I don't know. I'm sure there is one. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you the best scene from The Force Awakens. The closest thing would be Han Solo getting killed. Yeah. But that, to me, when I watched that for the first time, my reaction when he goes, Ben, and walks out on the path, I was like, here we go. Like, this is Han Solo's death. Oh, didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was amazing. And I think, The Force Awakens is a film that I'll, like, defend. I feel like I'm going to be defending to my dying day. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, The Last Jedi, I'm just like, I'm so sick of talking about.
When The Force Awakens came out, I felt the same. I was like, man, I hate having to defend this to people who are irrationally hating on it. Because it's just objectively, like, a pretty good movie. Well, I mean,
it's just
that's
fun. That's the thing, and that's how I feel about The Force Awakens, is that, like, these people have studied Star Wars for their entire lives, and so they expect something different, and so they're like, great, I'm getting this intellectual Star Wars movie that I managed to find in the not particularly intellectual original 6 movies. And so but The Force Awakens is just that fun romp that you can go on, and people go, oh, it's just a retread of A New Hope. But it's like, yeah, do you know what film got everyone into Star Wars? A New Hope.
Yeah.
And so J.J. Abrams had this impossible task of making a film that, like, his primary goal was to get everyone into Star Wars, not to make a film that was going to challenge everyone and do this. And so it's like, yeah, you should just remake A New Hope, because that's the one that got everyone into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. If he just remade Empire, or, like, whatever, just, like, tried to add all these new things, then it wouldn't work. And that's why it's one of the highest grossing films of all time, is because people went back to go see it again because it's fun, and that's what it should have been.
I think there's I don't know if like before I saw The Last Jedi, I would have said, it's a real shame. It's a real shame that this is square one for the sequel trilogy. It's a real shame that the main like moment that is when people say it's a rehash. It's not the Death Star stuff. That's whatever. Like, you could just change what Starkiller Base does and have it be just as detrimental, and you've fixed
it's
a major
just
flaw
the
in
new
that.
resistance.
It's the plot device.
Yeah.
The problem with The Force Awakens for me was that it set up the Rebels and the Empire again, and it's like, okay, like we're just back in this old chess game again. Like, say what you want about the prequels, but at least they were about something that wasn't exactly the same. And the prequels are all pieces of shit, so don't hold me to that. However, now after seeing The Last Jedi, I actually think The Force Awakens' purpose, and this is assuming that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are talking to each other about this, and hopefully they are, I think The Force Awakens' purpose was to lull us into a false sense of security. Like, to make us go like, okay, we're going to get a retread. And like, if that's true, if JJ really like fell on his sword to take a bit of criticism for like rehashing a movie, like rehashing A New Hope, that's incredible and very risky and very strange for a company that's become so renowned with playing it safe. Because the way this movie subverts expectations and basically severs ties with what you thought was going to happen, and the two big things being Snoke's death and Rey being a nobody, like that's so much more powerful because you thought it was going to be the opposite, And what's annoyed me as the hater of The Last Jedi that is in me, that I have examined and thought of it, what's annoyed me is so many people are going like, oh, what did you expect? Why did you want it to be you were so upset with The Force Awakens for being so similar to A New Hope, and then you're so upset with The Last Jedi for being so different. I haven't seen one legitimate complaint about The Last Jedi being too different. I haven't. People are saying they're there. I haven't seen anyone complaining about it.
Yeah, it's the same thing like how you always said that there are people out there that think that Rogue One is a sequel to The Force Awakens, and why did they recast Rey? I've never seen anyone else even make the joke that those people exist.
I guess I'm making that assumption there. But what my point is that like it is you are ignoring the problem. To all those out there who are criticizing those who are criticizing The Last Jedi, you are ignoring the problem by saying that they're annoyed that Snoke doesn't get a backstory. That's not what anyone's complaining about.
That's one of the best decisions the film made.
Yeah, exactly.
Star Wars is just... It's a whole other beast. It's ridiculous. I had something else to say, but I can't remember what it was.
That's okay.
What were you talking about just a second ago?
When?
Star Wars. Before that. Oh, no, yeah, that's interesting. Apparently, JJ was like had an idea who Rey's parents would be. Mm-hmm. This is what they said. Like they said in interviews leading up to the release. They said, like, "Oh, are we going to know who Rey's parents are? Do you know who they are, JJ? Does Ryan Johnson? Did you tell Ryan Johnson?" He said he had his own idea, but he didn't tell Ryan Johnson. But he said apparently they both just came up with the same answer. And so everyone was like, "Oh, so what does that mean?" And then, the fact that they're nobodies makes that's what they both came up with.
Yeah,
looks like we're good.
Jeremy, who probably shouldn't be commenting on these, says AJ is wrong, Richard is right. Nothing of the main characters spent any meaningful time together. Cool opinion, Jeremy. James Hope says the voice was on point. Well done. Also, Richard is bang on with his...
your impersonation of him.
The voice was on point. Well done. Also, Richard is bang on with with his points about Jedi. About Jedi. Too much bad for the good to shine through. Like Daisy Ridley's acting. Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, though, I'll give it that. That's true.
Adam Driver as Kylo Ren is like one of the best characters in film at the moment.
Like, imagine if Adam Driver had played Anakin. Like, obviously he would have been 15 years younger, but like Adam
Kylo
Driver,
Ren is what Anakin should have been.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's incredible. Anyway, is that all we've got to say about...
That's all I've got to say about Star Wars. I know I had a lot of people who were like, what do you think of Star Wars? And I'll be like, you're going to have to watch my 3.5 hour live long live stream to fully understand that.
I don't know. Yeah, last year was one of those things that I just can't wait for the conversation about it to be over because I'm so sick of talking about it.
Same.
Because it's like...
I've avoided talking about it.
It's what do you think? It's not I liked it or I didn't like it. It's sit down.
No, people... I've had to schedule conversations with people.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I actually can't talk about this now.
Yeah,
I can't delve into what I liked, what I didn't like now because it's not a quick answer.
Yeah, it's like it's that thing of like, it's not a quick answer. I can't just tell you I liked it, didn't like it. It's I have to. And you can sit there and tell me why it's the best Star Wars movie or why it's the worst one. And I'll agree with most of what you have to say, but I just feel the way I felt about it.
It's just the difference between how different people interpret movies. Like, and not to speak for him, but Jeremy, his problems with it is very like, I can understand why your personality.
So for the record, for everyone, like Jeremy's not here, he can't speak for himself, but he had the same problems you and I did. But for him, that made him completely unable to see any of the good parts, as far as I'm aware.
And like a friend of the podcast, Adam, has also had the same thing. And that's because, and I'm honestly not saying this as like a judgment call, this is just what I've interpreted in their personalities, is they have real logical hang-ups. They go, that wouldn't happen. This movie sucks. you know. And I'm a very emotional movie watcher. So if a movie can make me jump out of my seat and like gasp and shock, that's a plus for me. That overrides scenes I don't like. That overrides things. But like, you know, like, and so I don't want to speak for you, but would you say that's accurate? Like,
For me, it's like, imagine you're going on a road trip.
yeah,
And yeah, it's like this great road trip. You've planned it, and then 15 minutes into the road trip, I'm sitting in the back seat, and you're in the front seat, and which would never happen. But but we're 15 minutes into the road trip. It's like the Leia scene happens, and they're like, "Oh, let's pick up this hitchhiker," or like, "Oh, by the way, our friend's coming along," and so now I have to spend the rest of the road trip crammed in the back seat. And so it's like,
and he doesn't stop talking, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he feels he has to voice his opinion.
yeah. So, but it's like, real early on, this thing happened that for the rest of the my ride of watching The Last Jedi, I was like, this just isn't as good. Whereas you were like, yeah, we've got someone else in the car, but he's not talking, but it doesn't affect me because I'm in the front seat. I'm in the front seat. And because, like, it feels like, you know, that's what it feels like, is that for me, something happened early on that I was like, I've now got this new lens to view everything through, and anything good just kind of, I wasn't able to meet it on its own terms.
Yeah.
Whereas you would just like, Richard, did you deal with the hitchhiker?
You're really like a personality call on that when it's like not a perfect metaphor. Yeah. Like, I didn't look to you after the Leia scene and be like, it's your problem, not mine. All right, is that it on Last Jedi?
Yeah, about bloody time. And so now I never have to speak about The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
again.
just point
no
them
one
and go.
ever. If you see me on the street, do not come and talk to me about The Last Jedi, because I do not care.
All right, what's the next one?
Next one, and probably the last one, is a little film that we saw yesterday called Coco, Pixar's latest film.
So this is going to be it's kind of an anticlimax to start talking about Coco after.
Okay, Coco's an interesting one because I actually don't want to spoil it because it came out yesterday, and so that doesn't seem fair.
Okay. I guess no spoilers.
Well, we're talking about Coco, but I'll try and avoid spoilers. To me, Coco was moving. It was beautiful. It was one of my favorite films of the year, and it's just like, I was so on board with it. Visually, it's gorgeous. The story, I was so on board with. I found it a little bit predictable, but this is one of the argument for spoilers don't ruin a movie, because like scientifically they say they don't, and even though I could tell where the story was going for a lot of it, I was like, yeah, by the end of it I was floored. And you brought up the point that it reuses a lot of Pixar like story beats that they've already used, and like,
it's like, who cares? This movie is so much more about the visuals.
Again, for me, it's that I don't like to be like made like I'm less intelligent because I want to just view a film and be lost in that world for an hour and a half or however long the film is. And so for Coco, yeah, like, pull it back, you can see, oh, this is the bits from Monsters Inc., this bits from Up, this bits from Inside Out. But, you know, you watch a film for an hour and a half, you have no prior knowledge of those films.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's a Frankenstein's monster of other Pixar movies, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, they're all good movies.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for me, it's like, sure, like, if this was the first Pixar movie you ever saw, you'd be like, this is the best one. You'd be like, wow, I can see why people love Pixar. And because it's not a sequel or anything like that, you should be able to watch it as a new piece of art. Yeah. And so for me, Coco, 5 stars, made my top 5 for the year, but I put it / Coco, which is a weird pair to put together, because I'm like, I did love it, and I might just be because I've seen the last 24 hours, like, loving Coco like this, but I thought it was brilliant.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Well, maybe a couple of things, but nothing serious. Like, yeah, I don't. It's not my favorite Pixar movie. It's
the biggest problems you had with it, it's.
Well, the other problem I had, and this is the premise, so it's not really a spoiler, is that I mean, turn it off if you don't want to know the premise. I didn't. Was that basically the conceit of the film is it's about a kid who really loves music, but his great-great-great-grandfather was a musician and left the family, and so ever since then the family has been like, no music. And I thought that was maybe a bit extreme. Like, music is such a universal like part of life that maybe if they'd made it a specific genre of music, it would have been more palatable. Like,
I get what you mean, but yeah. And I did kind of feel that it's like, but I think, and it's one of those things that like reading reviews and discussions about it, a lot of people have said like Mexican people, because I came in Mexico like a month before it came out in the States, and it overtook The Avengers as Mexico's highest grossing film. But the fact that people are like, this is my grandmother, and it's so good to see these characters not done as caricatures. And so I think there is a lot of like, because the characters, I was like, oh my god, this old lady, just shut up. But then like, if that is like a part of that like extra culture and stuff like that, and I could kind of buy into the fact that I was like, yeah, sure, like these families are just like that. You know, I've seen TV shows with these sort of archetypes before, and I was on board with it.
wow.
So, to conclude, my top and bottom 5 films of the year. Top 5. Boom. Blade Runner 2049. The Disaster Artist. Dunkirk, Get Out, and It/Coco.
I would agree with that, except maybe I'd replace... I don't know, I'd put The Last Jedi in there somewhere, but I don't know where.
My bottom
I would say overall the best was Blade Runner 2049, and I want to say second best was Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
But the others can kind of flow wherever they want to go.
My bottom, going from least bad to worst, is Transformers 5, Justice League, Boss Baby, Baywatch, Death Note.
Well, I don't know. Mine written down are Pirates of the Caribbean 5, Logan and Baby Driver. I'd say Pirates of the Caribbean 5 was the worst of those films.
That's interesting because I feel like those would be your most disappointing, but not the worst.
Yeah.
What was the worst one we saw this year?
Transformers 5.
Oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
On that anticlimax,
woo! Thank you very much for watching this live stream, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Just under 3 hours.
Just under 3 hours. There you go. How'd you know that?
Because I looked at the time.
All right. If you've enjoyed it, please like our page. Maybe we'll do more stuff like this if people enjoy it. I'm quite a big fan of like real long form live streams that people can just drop in and out of. I didn't expect anyone to watch this whole thing, and that's fine. But thank you for commenting. Thank you for telling us what you think. And if you like this, then you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, and like us on Facebook. We're all over the social meds, the soci meds, the so me. And expect more stuff from us
in the new year. And I
year.
hope you had a Merry Christmas and a happy 2018.
And a happy Hanukkah. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching.